Hey, everybody. Oh, hi. Hello.
Oh, hi, hello. Uh, Ross, are you excited for today?
I am season 2 of Lorebeards 40K, and it's our first What If episode.
Yep, yep. And we got a good one today. We got Isha, who is a character that GW completely forgot about.
Well, I think there's some good reasons why she stays in the background, and we're going to talk about that today. Because today's topic is what if Isha were freed from Nurgle's garden? What would that mean? From captivity? What would if Isha was freed from captivity?
If Isha
Yeah,
was freed from Nurgle's garden, where she potentially is, maybe.
potentially, possibly is. Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Ross Watson. I am a game designer and author. I have written a whole bunch of stuff for Warhammer 40K, mostly the Warhammer 40K role playing game line, but also the video games like Warhammer 40K Regicide, Battlefield Gothic Armada, and I've also been part of the US White Dwarf team for a couple of years. If you like the lore about Rogue Traders and the Death Watch, I am that guy. This is my
Yeah.
lovely co-host. Who are you, Norn Queen
Hello.
Alexis?
I am a Warhammer painter, as you can tell. I'm working on a brand new miniature that we just got for the sisters. This is a sister uh what the heck, Dogmata Superior in
Mm-hmm.
her War Walker thingy, which is such a cool model. I love the Sisters of Battle. And I am a massive, massive nerd. I have collected Warhammer since 4th edition. I made this whole thing my personality. And I'm also a Viking reenactor, but you can't really see it because there's a giant box of paint on me right here. But yeah, I have a ton of fun in this hobby, and I am just excited to still be here.
I'm so glad you're here with us as well on Lorebeards 40K because we have this great topic today, but it does require some groundwork. So I'm going to start just briefly talking about some things, if that's all right.
Alrighty, I will take my absolutely normal sized drink.
So first we have to talk about who are the aeldari in Warhammer 40K. They are an ancient race with hyper advanced technology. They are largely psychic. They have great psychic potential, even in for the most part, their race is very has a great deal of high psychic potential. They once ruled a vast galactic empire before that galactic empire collapsed into an era of extreme decadence called the Fall of the Eldar, which created one of the Chaos Gods, Slanesh, and the Eye of Terror, and a whole lot of other following things that were bad. Uh, the Chaos God Slanesh devoured most of the souls of the Eldari and most of their gods. Isha
Mm-hmm.
is one of the few surviving gods from that event. And the survivors of the Eldari Dominion survive as the Craft World Eldari, the sadistic Drukari or Dark Eldar, the Exodites, the Corsairs, and the Yinari, which are followers of a new Eldari god, Iniad. And the Harlequins, let's not forget them.
And the White Seers, they were mentioned once.
That's right. That's right. So, who is Isha, Alexis?
Isha is the Eldar goddess of healing, and isn't that all she does? Is just healing?
So, harvest, fertility, nature, life, and healing.
Yeah. Which is pretty. I think every pantheon in existence in our current reality has a mother goddess very similar to this.
Well, she is the divine mother of the Eldari race. And
Mhm.
when Slanesh was born and destroyed the other gods, Nurgle, one of the great chaos gods, stole Isha away and imprisoned her in his play garden. And since that time, which is a little over 10,000 years from the prior date of Warhammer 40,000, since that time, she has been endlessly injected or infected with new diseases, while she secretly whispers cures into the mortal realms, quietly undermining the plagues of Nurgle.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, this again, whenever we talk about Eldari pantheons and everything, it feels way too fantasy-esque for me. I don't know what it is, but it feels like I know that Warhammer 40K is a techno fantasy. I get that. Um And that's cool. That's really cool. But man, does this feel like really, really, really into the fantasy. Like if you told me this lore was in Age of Sigmar or the old world, I'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. When does Marathi get involved?
Right.
Marathi's really cool. She gets involved in everything.
She does get involved in a lot. That's true. The powers of chaos, also called the ruinous powers, are they come from a place called the warp, which is a turbulent dimension that is mostly connected through psychic abilities and supernatural forces to our dimension. It is shaped by mortal emotions, and it is home to the four chaos gods or ruinous powers, as I said. Khorne, the god of bloodshed, Tzeentch, the god of change and sorcery, Nurgle, the god of decay and plague, and Slaanesh, the goddess, question mark, of excess and desire. These gods wage something called the Great Game, which is an eternal rivalry where their demons and their cults will spill over into real space, driving much of the galaxy's war and corruption and horror as they jockey for position in the quote unquote Great Game. Nurgle specifically is the god of rot and disease and despair and the grim acceptance of decay, but also of endurance and a very twisted sort of humor. He's technically the
Yeah.
funniest of the chaos gods.
But it's more like his followers are more like Stockholm syndrome than anything else.
I mean, yeah, it can be.
Sometimes.
Can be.
Oh,
Uh,
and we do have to state this really quickly. Khorne is not the god of honor
no. Well,
at all.
I mean, there are aspects of him. We should do a discussion on this because Khorne is primarily the god of bloodshed and slaughter and carnage. But yeah, honor is actually part of his portfolio. Oddly enough,
Well, so is betrayal
I'm just saying.
and
There's,
backstabbing
I
and
mean, listen,
killing your own guys.
all of these chaotic deities are
Massive hypocrites.
representative. They're representative of a large array of ideas and concepts and ideals slash virtues slash vices slash horrible things. So you can look at Nurgle as a god of life, just as the way you can look at Tzeentch and see a god of progressiveness towards an ideal. You can look at Slaanesh as a god of seeking pleasure, but not to excess as it is. There's different ways to look at them. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. That sounds a lot like Raya to me.
Oh
So that's one of the gods from fantasy that I know very well.
yeah, Anathrema, Kernus. There's a lot of cool gods over on the fantasy side. So Nurgle is the chaos god of rot, disease, despair. He appears as a bloated, jovial, quote unquote grandfather that presides over the Garden of Nurgle, which is a fetid warp realm where he brews plagues and in this colossal cauldron whilst testing them on Isha, who is kept in a cage for every new disease.
Technically, his cauldron is destroyed.
Sure. It's important to point out here right now that the Chaos Gods, described often in legend as being more sentient beings with agency and things like that, technically speaking, they are more like cosmic forces of the universe. They don't really have rivalries. They don't really have goals and desires as we understand them. They just kind of exist in the immaterium of the warp as these vast cosmic storms that kind of have a flavor to them. So
yeah, but we do know that they do hate each other as much as they hate everything else.
I mean, yeah. I mean, is it emotional hate? Is it just contesting for the same primacy of position in terms of their place in the world or in reality? Who knows? They do seem to have a rivalry, though. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite stories of a rivalry of Slaanesh and Khorne is when they captured Gilliman as he was returning to Terra on his crusade from Crag to Terra, and Shalaxi, the god of the greatest huntress of Slaanesh, was about to deliver the final blow to Gilliman and kicked Karanak out of the way and all of the corn demons stopped fighting the Space Marines, turned and just went, "Oh hell no! You didn't just kick a dog." And the resulting war allowed Cypher to slip in and get Gilliman out of there. I love it. I love one of my favorite aspects of Warhammer 40K is a more fantasy version of it is demons. I absolutely love demons in Warhammer 40K because it gives you this whole um like thought made manifest. Your worst nightmares are coming to get you, but at the same time the things that you are doing in your life are creating your worst nightmares. So because you're under the reign of a fascist regime, the empire, the emperor, the imperium, you are inadvertently creating the very demons that are destroying you. And it's such a cool look at the world itself, and all the demons are made out of they're made out of the warp itself, which the warp itself we don't entirely know what it's made out of. It was called the Sea of Souls, so possibly that, but probably not. It's just a parallel reality where your soul goes to. So whatever. And that energy can come into reality, mutate people, warp them into looking like demons, being possessed, or just literally summoning demons into reality, which are only there because you believe they're there, which is such a cool concept to me, that you are fighting something that is trying to scare you into it existing in our reality because it needs your fear for it to be a focal point in reality. And the more you don't fear it, the more it deteriorates in reality and returns to the warp.
Not fearing is part of it. The belief is part of it in general. Like there's a lot
Mhm.
of things that regard like how strong something is in the warp because of people believe in it or understand it. One of the greatest examples is the greater good, the Tauva, which is a nascent warp entity, kind of like a god, that was actually created by the belief of the Tau's uh,
Auxilia
auxiliary,
mostly.
their auxiliary species, other species that had allied with them, who believed in the greater good so much that it started to form into the in the warp as a god in a weird way.
Hmm.
And with this, we have a whole episode on the power of faith and what that might be, so go check that out. So
So,
we're spirit stones. We need to talk about spirit stones.
yes, we do. Go right ahead. Have at thee. I talked for quite a bit.
These are psychic gems that the Eldari use to capture their souls at the moment of death so that they are not devoured by Slanesh. Instead, they are
True.
housed safely in the spirit stones can then be placed into an infinity circuit aboard a craft world. Only the craft world Eldar really use the spirit stones, to be clear. Traditionally, spirit stones are linked to the Tears of Isha. These stones are essentially the hard cap on Eldari population because they can't really grow their numbers without more spirit stones. Or, well, they can. It's just
It just
extremely
takes,
risky.
it also takes like 10 years to make a child.
It's extremely risky because the Eldari, their souls are being hunted by Slanesh. And the instant that they die, Slanesh just basically is like, "Hi there, I'd like to take this soul." So they have to find ways to keep their souls out of the maw of Slanesh. And Spirit Stones is one of these ways. Then there's Iniad. Iniad is the newest god of the Eldari. He's the god of the dead. He was formed from the multitude of Eldari souls stored in infinity circuits and prophesized to one day destroy Slanesh. The Ynnari is a sect of Eldari led by Yvraine, the high priestess of Iniad, and they actively work towards the full awakening of the god of the dead. They often, in this way, they offer a radical new path for their species that centers death as their salvation. Then there's the Emperor of Mankind, Big E
Yeah.
himself.
Who recently in a video might have moved and opened his eye. But that whole video is more hyperbole, but at the same time, in Godblight, it's heavily implied that the Emperor might be coming back, which would be one hell of a twist that both me and Ross would not be expecting in any book ever. Like, the Emperor coming back is not something we expect, but in Godblight, the Emperor did do something, which is incredible. So the Emperor of Mankind is a human perpetual. Um, he belongs to a race of beings that cannot die. They get reborn,
Oh,
maybe.
they can die, just it's extremely tough.
Yeah. Uh, they can get reborn, maybe. They are incredibly powerful beings sometimes. I have to say all of these things because some of them, their powers are just incredibly inconsistent. So I just want to put that out there with a grain of salt. The Emperor is the strongest psyker amongst any human in the entire galaxy. His presence alone can keep the Astronomicon lit, which shines a bright light across the entirety of the galaxy and the warp itself. He is strong enough to control that while not being on the throne itself during the heresy. Um, he is so powerful he can burn the entire garden of Nurgle by stepping on Nurgle's planet. That was in Godblight. He didn't burn the entire garden, just to be clear. He burned a lot of it, like enough that Nurgle actually fled, which is really cool. I would love to see Games Workshop actually, pursue like this story arc. That would be really cool. Let's have God versus God violence. We could do it in Age of Sigmar. We could do it here. Um, but the Emperor himself is a frail old man sometimes, and sometimes a gargantuan golden human that stands at like 5 meters tall and is super imposing. He's also a shapeshifter. He is immensely powerful. He was birthed by the sacrifice of thousands of shamans, maybe, or born to mortal parents, maybe. Uh, and all stories of his birth are true and false at the same time. His soul is so powerful that when the demons were pouring into the webway uh, beneath the golden throne, the emperor swung his sword one time and slayed 1,000 demons. It was definitely a Tetsaga moment. Uh, I'm always going to make that joke because that's exactly what happened in that scene. Um, the emperor is called the anathema to the chaos gods because he represents something that can actually damage or potentially destroy the chaos gods. Granted, the chaos gods would ultimately come back. It's just the collective of them can potentially be destroyed and then it'll culminate back eventually. Maybe. Again, I have to say all of this with a maybe because we did kind of see this happen with the old world exploding into Age of Sigmar, and then the Chaos Gods came back. So they can die and come back, but that's in a separate universe that is sometimes occasionally adjacent to Warhammer 40k. Ross, help me out here.
Okay.
There's a lot of 40k. There's a lot of stuff in Age of Sigmar that shares parallels with 40k that are sometimes connected, but they don't follow the same rules as what I'm trying to imply.
Fair enough. To be clear, the Astronomicon covers most of the galaxy, not all, but
Yeah. Sorry,
most of the galaxy. And the main thing about the Emperor of Mankind, he has been mortally wounded and is now sustained on the Golden Throne. Basically, he's basically stuck there because he's generating the Astronomicon, and the Astronomicon is this psychic lighthouse that guides human ships. Some believe that it holds back the power of chaos. Like Alexis said, he's known to be his presence is known to be anathema to chaos. The Emperor's slow decay and the failing mechanisms of the Golden Throne upon which he sits makes a being like Isha, who is a goddess of life and healing, potentially pivotal if she ever arrived on Terra to stabilize or heal the Emperor.
now that's there's
Potentially.
a whole yeah. Again, it's the whole potentially maybe. Now there are stories that do reference that Isha might still exist in Warhammer, and we do have to explain: is Isha canon in Warhammer at the current moment?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe that the legends of the Eldari are true, but I don't believe that certain books are true anymore. Like I don't think Lehman Russ is looking for Isha.
Well, he's looking for something that might be related to Isha. We will talk about this. because the journey of Leman Russ is often implied to be entwined with the fate of Isha. So
Now, who is Lehman Russ?
well, when we get there, I will
Yeah.
make sure to talk about that. Just very quickly, the great game is that ongoing struggle between the Chaos Gods as they vie for dominance in the warp. They like to sabotage and exploit each other's gains. If Isha were to be freed, that would not just hurt Nurgle emotionally and strategically, it would also shift the balance of power amongst the four Chaos Gods and provoke fresh infighting and opposition of the great game. And lastly, the last thing we need to mention for our foundational stuff here is the tone and stakes of 40K.
Yeah.
Because this is a universe in which even the most hopeful events come with catastrophic costs. And there are no pure wins. As far as
Pyrrhic victories.
Yeah, there's only Pyrrhic victories. So within this framework, Isha's freedom, probably you should set your expectations to a certain point, because the goddess of life is not likely to have a happy ending as opposed to a massive, messy turning point that changes the flavor of the grimdark without erasing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, we did sit through 2 editions of hopefulness, which was kind of weird. But now GW seems to got its stride back and wants to slip it back to the grim dark. So yeah, I'm kind of hopeful that some things that include Isha coming back are actually terrible.
Well,
Like,
there's a lot. So Isha's return is such a big thing that I think we should probably preface this, kind of like when I was talking about whether Sanguinius could return or not. The question is not just could Isha return and how. I mean, that's the primary goal of this episode. But I would suggest that it's also important to consider whether she should return.
see, with Sanguinius, I think we're both in the same boat of he shouldn't return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
Because his death is so important.
Agreed.
That bringing him back would ultimately undo everything.
Mm. But Isha's freedom changes so much in the setting that I would argue we're talking about a shift as pivotal, as significant as something like the end times were for the old world. It would be
Ooh.
huge ramifications. Isha's freedom changes the game considerably.
Yes. I fully agree with that. I, for one, don't. How to put this? Isha as a character is, in my opinion, too hopeful for the galaxy.
That's one of the things that will change, is that Isha being free will add a little more hope into the grim darkness of the far future. There's a lot. We got a super chat I should read before we get too crazy. Necro Player, thank you so much for the super chat. Would this ignite a massive, horrible war between Nurgle and the Aeldari? Quite possibly.
I have one for you. I think it'll actually trigger a war between Tzeentch and Nurgle.
Well, it's going to trigger a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're going to get into it. We're going to discuss like the possibilities of what would happen. Necroplayer, thanks so much for the super chat. Super chats are the absolute best way to support Lorebeards 40K, support your hosts, support more great 40K content coming your way on the Lorebeards channel. So we're grateful to everyone who chooses to support us with a super chat.
You guys are awesome, and we love you.
It's true. Isha, why is her imprisonment an important thing in the setting? It's an active, ongoing force that shapes the lives and deaths of billions of beings throughout the setting. Because Isha survived not through her own power. She survived the fall of the Eldar because Nurgle intervened. This is not something she had any control over. Slaanesh exploded into existence roughly 10,000 years prior to the current date. It's a little more. It's like 200 years before the Great Crusade. And Slaanesh devoured nearly the entire Eldari pantheon in one Snap of the finger, an instant, a blink of the eye. Assyrian, Val, Kurnus, Lilith, they were all consumed or possibly shattered, although we have joked about
Yeah.
that considerably, how many gods get shattered into pieces.
And then there's the whole, does that mean the god is dead?
Isha, according to legend, cried out for aid, and Nurgle is the one who heard her cries.
Tips
And then
Fedora. Don't worry,
Milady.
princess.
Milady. Oh, he would be the ultimate incel. And Nurgle, it's very likely that he fought some kind of prolonged war with Slaanesh, just over claiming Isha in the first place. And as far as we know, Nurgle is keeping her in a corner of the room containing his great plague cauldron, although that may have been destroyed. And this is within the Garden of Nurgle, which is within the realm of chaos, which is within the warp.
Yep.
There's a lot going on.
Came into reality momentarily, and Gilliman almost died on it, but then it was burnt. Godblight is such a good trilogy, by the way. You really need to read it.
I should. I'm working my way through the newest Mikulesque novel. So Ice Veins 88, thank you for the super chat. I just have to say this: Nurgle to S tier. That's a joke about our tier lists, which are also something we do on Wednesdays. I think next Wednesday is a tier list, possibly. So it's either that or a versus. Alexis, you'll have to decide when our next versus is going to be.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that I miss the next week, and it depends how injured I get during the week of Viking fighting.
So the dynamic. So go ahead.
Just so people don't worry about this, I have a Viking festival coming up here in Hafnarfjörður in Iceland, and I'm really excited for it. I'm going to fight for an entire week straight, and I'm very, very, very excited. The injuries are because we use metal weapons against each other. It was a joke. I don't want anyone to actually worry about my well-being. We are good.
Zarquaichian snorted when I said Slaanesh exploded into being. Yes, that you can certainly see that one as being an innuendo. Slaanesh is the god of innuendo, so that's perfectly accurate.
Here comes Slaanesh. Uh-oh.
And we got Primogenitor. Thank you for being a member. She belongs to Slaanesh like all Eldar souls do. Oh, Slaanesh would certainly want that soul for sure.
Here's a question for you though, Ross. Okay, so our hypothesis is that the Eldar pantheon is the Old Ones, right?
I mean,
or potentially created by the Old Ones.
So, well, we know the Eldari. Well, we don't know this. We believe it is mentioned many times that the Old Ones created the Eldari as well as the Orcs, at the Oryx at the time. Sorry, the Kroorks and the Eldari. Kroorks at the time. So, if you take that at face value, if you're like, yes, the Old Ones created the Eldari, then the Eldari gods were either creations of the Old Ones or Old Ones themselves. That's what makes the most sense. But then that begs the question about Mork and Gork too. Like, are they creations of the Old Ones or are they Old Ones themselves?
Did Slaanesh have to fight them? Would the Orcs have come to the defense of the Eldar out of sheer instinct at some point?
Unlikely, because they devolved from the Kroorks.
That is
into
true.
The Orcs.
But we're talking about the gods.
The gods often reflect their worshippers in many ways. So I don't know.
But it would be one of the biggest fights in the galaxy.
It would be. There's no question about that. Well, you could argue that Tuska Demon Killer knows the answer.
That's very true. But right now, he's chilling in the Brass Citadel fighting corn demons for all eternity.
And just loving life.
Yeah, he has a good ending.
So, just to be really clear, the dynamic between Isha and Nurgle is very grotesque and tragic because Nurgle is force-feeding Isha all of his concoctions to test their potency and exploiting her divine power of healing so that she becomes a living reset button. And being a goddess of healing, she can cure herself of any disease, which gives Nurgle this inexhaustible, constantly restoring test subject.
Yeah.
Now, even in captivity, though, she refuses to be passive. She is whispering the cures of his plagues to the mortal realm, or so the legends say, which if that's true, it means that healers and magos biologists and other apothecaries and things like that, they're all receiving information on diseases that they don't necessarily understand. They're getting inspired to help fight Nurgle's diseases by her.
We got a super chat here from Friend or Trader.
Friend or Trader says, Quasimodo predicted Isha's fate, did he? And I'm missing the
Isn't Isha the name of the woman in Quasimodo?
Is it? In the Hunchback of Notre Dame?
I think so.
I thought Quasimodo was the name of that guy. And Isha was... Is Isha the name of the dancer? Oh, I'll be damned. I didn't know that.
Is it? No, that's Esmeralda.
Esmeralda, yeah. I was going to say, I don't think so.
My Disney knowledge and my actual historical knowledge on Quasimodo are very limited.
Sorry, Friend or Trader. I don't get this one. I may just be out of touch. So
we might be dumb.
We might be very dumb. Please clarify if you would, and we'll try to bring it up. So Isha's imprisonment is not just a subplot, as we said earlier. It's far more of a thing in the setting that underpins quite a few aspects of life. So why is freeing Isha such a big deal? Well, the Garden of Nurgle is a death sentence for mortals. First of all, it's just getting into the warp to the garden is incredibly difficult. It's an actively lethal metaphysical realm, and it's just gross.
I'm trying to think. The only space marine that I know that actually went into the warp and then walked upon Nurgle's planet was Typhus. Maybe Mortarion hangs out there sometimes.
Right. Well, it's in the warp. It's in the warp, so the prison is not necessarily physical. It's maybe metaphysical, is another way to look at it. But even supposedly only Nurgle himself can shield visitors from the toxic effects of his garden. The domain of Nurgle. Supposedly, the domain of Nurgle is what destroyed the aeldari craft world of Lugganath. In case you didn't know that.
I'm far too dumb for this, and I have to reference this because somebody in the chat is going to get it. The Garden of Nurgle is Nurgle's domain expanse. All right, continue.
What is that from?
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay. Gesundheit.
Yeah, it's basically a rip-off Naruto.
Sorry. So yeah, the aeldari craft world of Lugganath, their council of Farseers sent their astral forms into the garden trying to get aid from Isha to cure a plague. And despite fighting valiantly against all the waves of plague bearer demons, their physical bodies died and their souls were fully drawn into the warp, where they eventually took root as wailing trees in the garden. So not the first aeldari souls that Nurgle has stolen, quote unquote, from Slaanesh.
No, he does that quite a bit.
Spitfire 703. This is craft roll propaganda. Nurgle makes fresh, delicious soup for his wife every morning, and somehow he's the villain? Slander. Slander, I say.
I actually have a theory about, I'm not going to say Spitfire's correct, but what if the jovial nature of Nurgle is only because of Isha, and without Isha, it would just be the misery of death and rot?
Yeah. And, it could be. We've got a comment from Ricardo Andre says there was a plague in that craft world that the council's trying to fix. Yeah. And their bodies died before they got to her. That's correct. They could not reach her. But I'm just pointing out that's how dangerous it is to try and reach Isha. Okay. I'm using this as an example. And again, it's probably not a physical prison. It's probably not some wall you can break down or a chain that you can break. Even just removing the manifestation of Isha from the garden may not remove her being, because the core of her being is bound there. When you're talking about divine entities and Nurgle exerting his will to say you will not move, there's something more there than just a physical bond. That's what I'm trying to say.
what was it? Hand of Darkness or oh my god, it was a Gav Thorpe book, where Gilliman tasked Yvain with retrieving a chaos artifact, one of the big ones. I can't remember if it was the Hand of Darkness or the Eye of something.
Eye of Night.
Uh, Eye of Night. I can't remember which one he was after because it's part of a paired book series that were short books and they were really good. But Yvain actually goes through and has to go into some of the realms of like Nurgle and everything, and they walk this super careful path. And if any of them strayed off of the path, they instantly were annihilated by the Chaos Gods and things like that. I believe they passed over Slaaneish's domain, and most of them were immediately annihilated. Some of them passed over the garden and were killed. And yeah, it was a wild book.
Frederick Trader does clarify, says it was a ham-fisted Sopranos reference. One of the main characters credits Quasimodo with Nostradamus' predictions. That super chat was knocking around my head and needed to be shared. Okay, buddy, I think that's awesome. I wish I'd seen The Sopranos. I have not. It's one of the holes in my pop culture knowledge. Is The Sopranos. So apologies. Thanks for pointing that out. Are you a Sopranos fan?
I watched a good chunk of it, but then I started watching what was that biker show?
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. And then my friend got really mad at me because I predicted the ending in the first episode.
Oh no.
And she was just like, "How the hell did you know that?" I'm like, the main character's reading his own story. That means he's dead. That's very
I mean, that is common.
She was just like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, in fact, everyone that he name drops probably dies." Watch the whole series. Hey, I was right.
So this is a question for you, Alexis. I'm going to posit a theory, and I want you to comment on it. I think because we're talking about deity level interactions in the work, which is the place arguably the gods are the strongest, that you would have to fulfill at least 2, if not possibly 3 conditions to truly free Isha. First, you'd have to permanently weaken Nurgle to the point where his domain would no longer act as a prison for Isha. Just some sort of astronomical undertaking to shift the very balance of the warp. Okay. You would have to massively amplify Isha's own divine ability so that her specific niche in the warp becomes powerful enough for her to resist the consuming influence of Nurgle. Just right off the bat. And then possibly a third is that you might need the Aeldari species themselves to their own civilization would need to somehow project a courage, if you will, or a lack of fear towards disease and death.
Okay. So. Also, sorry about the spoilers to Son of Anarchy. I thought that show was like almost 7 years old. I assumed everybody finished it. I don't feel like I need to put spoilers for like 10-year-old shows. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Okay. So the first thing is you need to weaken Nurgle.
Weaken Nurgle, strengthen Isha. Yeah.
So we know that Nurgle feared the Emperor. Like, actually feared his arrival to the point where he yelled at Mortarion because he did not believe in Mortarion. Which is a hilarious twist, by the way. Nurgle likes everybody except Mortarion is hilarious. I thought that was so funny.
And tragic for Mortarion.
No, Mortarion, no one believed in you. No one thought you would actually kill him. That's why we all went along with this. It was one of the funniest things in that entire book. But, I think you would need 3 things. 1, you would need the Emperor, or a godlike deity who is strong enough to enter Nurgle's realm, and is pure enough and an anathema enough to start destroying the realm. I believe the only ones that they could truly do that with is the Emperor or one of the Catan, because they don't have a god strong enough to do it anymore.
Well, the Catan have no strength in the warp, so Catan wouldn't be able to do that.
Exactly. Or maybe even Gork and Mork.
Well, Gork and Mork would qualify. The Emperor would qualify. There are ways to do it, like Gilliman carries the Emperor's sword, which is burning with flame, and it is often described as, flame that is bad for demons in the warp, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Nulls, sufficiently strong nulls, perhaps could have an impact on the power of Nurgle's domain.
Here's the problem. Can we get the Sisters of Silence in large enough numbers into the warp to Nurgle's planet to actually do anything?
The consensus seems to be no, because the Aeldari Farseers, again, I will point out, did try this. They did try to go in. Now,
so
they're not nulls, but they're not weaklings in the warp either. So
no. So here's my stage 2. 1, the Aeldari have to get the Emperor involved. In order to do that, they need to resurrect your Yanid. Yanid needs to essentially revive the Emperor's body a little bit in order for the Emperor to actually be able to leave said body to project himself again. The Emperor goes into the into the warp, goes onto Nurgle's domain, fights Nurgle. It would be a fight to the standstill because, again, there can't be a victory in 40k. That defeats the whole purpose of 40k. Isha breaks out and needs to track herself back. Now, the Golden Throne would be a good beacon, but a better beacon would be if the Aeldari built a Golden Throne powered by their own souls.
Wow, we are. Well, you could argue that the first element has already been completed by the the Emperor burning Nurgle's garden
and destroying his cauldron.
And you could argue that presents the first half of the issue. Mm-hmm. The second half of amplifying Isha's own ability or domain or nature or influence, that is something that Inia could certainly help with. Segorok could help with. Possibly even an Avatar of Cain could help with.
Well, let's not go too far. The Avatar won't help.
Ivrain would be a good person to bring with you on this rescue mission, because she could potentially channel the power of Inia to help Isha break free from a weakened Nurgle.
Activate her Bankai.
We
do have a super chat. Oh, you got it. Wait. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, Ice Veins, thank you, sir. He says, I find it interesting that Isha secretly whispers cures for Nurgle's new plagues that allows humanity and other mortal races to survive and combat them. Yeah, Isha doesn't want to be there. She definitely is not just like passively sitting there going, man, this is kind of great. It's like a nice vacation where all I do is, eat that lovely soup every morning.
Mm-hmm. So I heard the wildest theory related to Isha, the Emperor, and the destruction of chaos. And I want to share it with you. And you're going to be like, Alexis, no. And I'm going to be like, Alexis, yes. Are you ready for this?
Go for it.
Okay. It starts with Abaddon actually working for the Emperor.
What?
Okay. I know, right?
It doesn't start with an earthquake, birds and snakes and aeroplanes.
That's a good reference, by the way. That is a great reference. So, in Aaron Densky Bowden's book, The Talon of Horus, Abaddon stared into the Astronomicon. It's where he got his golden eyes from. And in there, it said that something spoke to him, and he had counsel with something. Okay? Then he set out to do the 13 Black Crusades. The 13 Black Crusades have been slowly destroying or using the pylon networks. The pylon networks have been actively suppressing warp presences around the entire galaxy. As the Necrons have woken, they have activated more and more of them. So Abaddon's been going around destroying them. The theory is that Abaddon was put on this task by the Emperor by tricking Abaddon into thinking this would destroy the Emperor so that he could have his final bout with the Emperor. But the Emperor planned it all out so that his psychic presence can be more and more active in reality because the beacons that are keeping him back,
The pylons.
the pylons, the same things that are keeping chaos at bay, are weakening and being destroyed, thus allowing the Emperor to become more and more active. And in the books, we've seen the Emperor becoming more active. Living saints have been resurrecting quicker. Saint-like powers have been activating more. The Golden Child has appeared multiple times. The Emperor literally possessed Gilliman and brought him back to life and fully healed him and burned the Garden of Nurgle and destroyed it. Okay?
All right.
All of that to say that this has always been the Emperor's plan, and now that the pylons are sufficiently destroyed, the galaxy is torn in half, the Emperor is going to once again leave the Golden Throne.
Well, so you're I think what you're leading up to is that this is how Isha gets rescued, is the Emperor.
Yes.
Well,
is the Emperor is the biggest distraction, and what is it? Farseer Team 6 goes in like go 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 go.
Well, I think we will talk about the possible ways that she could be rescued for sure. And the Emperor's activity, the Emperor, he's a very flawed being, profoundly flawed. So if he wanted to work with Abaddon and cause the deaths of trillions of people in order to, like, do more stuff, sure, that's not out of character for him. We got
go ahead.
Finish your thought.
Okay. The Emperor looks at humans as a species, not as people. We just got to put that out there. He wants to protect the species. So if there's enough left at the end of all of this to make a breeding population that'll keep existing, that's fine by him. He'll sacrifice trillions of them in order to save the species.
Sure. I mean, that may be true. Friend or Trader has a super chat where he says Isha is rescued and in the process throws Yvraine in there. It could be a Hercules and Atlas situation. somebody's got to test out all those plagues. Might as well be you, Yvraine. I'm busy. That's funny. I don't know if that would. That's funny though. I like that. So let's assume that Isha is rescued somehow.
Yep.
She escapes Nurgle's grasp. The most immediate concern is Slaanesh, because Slaanesh views Isha and all the other aeldari gods as rightful prey. Before Nurgle rescued her, Slaanesh was about to devour Isha, in the same manner that Slaanesh devoured Asurian and the rest of the Pantheon. So, outside of Nurgle's protection, Isha would need either the Webway, which is, as we know, a separate realm from the warp, and thus was somewhat safe, certainly safer than remaining in the warp, or the protection of some other powerful entity, just to survive long enough to do anything at all useful. So if Slaanesh were to find Isha after her escape and devour her, that would change the balance of power in the Chaos Gods even more, because Nurgle would be weak and Slaanesh would be very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And that would cause some serious imbalance issues as well. Now, Nurgle's reaction. What do you think Nurgle would do when he discovers or finds out or witnesses Isha escaping his grasp?
So I honestly think that he would have the most normal and rational response of, sometimes maybe we shouldn't keep women against their will. Nah, he would definitely act like a Fox News anchor and flip out.
Well,
he would throw every single thing he has at the Eldar to try to get her back. And in doing so, I think Slaanesh would actually, well, maybe not Slaanesh, because Tzeentch is the mortal enemy of Nurgle. Tzeentch would take advantage of it, trick him into going into places that he shouldn't do, and have most of his demons being destroyed and banished back to him. And I honestly think Zinch might take this as a chance to try and destroy Nurgle, where because the great game is about one of them eventually winning. Then you have Slanesh teasing and going after, which would then spark Korn into going into all out war against them. And we're talking about another galaxy wide like rune storm essentially, because this would be all the demons fighting each other in real and not real space at the same time, where maybe the only safe domain is the Emperor's Astronomicon.
Well, the Astronomicon is not necessarily a safe domain because, again, it covers most of the galaxy, and most of the galaxy gets attacked all the time.
Oh no, I mean it in the warp itself, where the Emperor has his like little domain.
Yeah, his domain. That's probably a better way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're largely right. I think Nurgle is fundamentally unique amongst the other Chaos Gods because he's jovial, he's grandfatherly, he's invested in his quote unquote family, right? He has already had a conflict with Slanesh specifically to claim Isha in the first place. And I think it's likely that the character of Nurgle, if you can describe it as such, is that he probably adores her. He probably is obsessively, possessively, destructively adoring of Isha. And his garden, his plagues, his entire creative output is oriented around her being his audience and his test subject. So the loss of Isha would not just be a setback. This would be devastating in a way that I don't think Nurgle's ever been portrayed in 40K.
Yeah,
it's possible he would for the measure of how much of a person he is relatable to, he might lose his composure entirely. And you might see new warp storms rage across the galaxy. You might see waves of plagues spontaneously erupting on multiple worlds all at the same time. You might even see a full Nurgle military campaign against the Aeldari in general, just lashing out, just some tantrum-like attempt to recapture his most prized possession.
And especially without having his cauldron. Like, assuming he doesn't just magic another one back into existence.
Well,
we don't know if they can do that, which is weird because we don't know the full extent of what the Chaos Gods in 40K can do because they're typically not a tangible being.
Well, I think for the purposes of this discussion, we can say with some authority that Nurgle's been hurt by the Emperor. I think we'll take the events of Godblight as something that has occurred.
Yeah,
and thus say that Nurgle is weakened. And what that can be up to you whether you think the cauldron is permanently destroyed or not. But I think that's one thing we need to just establish as part of our discussion today.
Yes.
Got a super chat from Ricardo Andre. No story for how we got out. No layman, no raid into the palace as Slanesh is distracted. No crone sword. What is a what if without a story? Sage.
Oh, no. We are going to do that. We just wanted to do this, like what would happen afterwards first, because that's the slower part. We're going to get
the more
into
interesting.
How they're going to be rescued.
I agree. It's far more interesting to talk about how she got out. More than that's kind of what I was leading to, was talking about how it's more interesting to talk about how she gets out than the follow-on effects. Ice Vein says, not sure if this makes sense, but what if the Laughing God along with the Harlequins and Grey Knights break Isha out? Random thought of mine. Segarok has a vested interest in freeing Isha.
Not only that, the Grey Knights aren't opposed to working with the Eldar. Like they're far more
anti-chaos than they are anti-Eldar. Yeah.
Yeah, they would be like, the enemy of my enemy dies second. Because it's the Imperium after all. They'll still try to kill him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they're happy-go-lucky friendship. Yay! It's more like, hey, we're gonna work with you until we don't want to anymore, and we're not gonna tell you when we don't want to work with you.
I say that's a pretty great scenario, actually, and we're going. I promise you, we're getting there. We're still in the first hour of the show. We're getting to the point where we're going to talk about like how this could happen. But um, briefly, the other chaos gods, if Isha were freed, would be more or less opportunistic. Korn wouldn't care so much, but he'd want to exploit a weakened and compromised Nurgle just like Tzeentch would. Although, if Isha were freed, I'm sure Tzeentch would take credit and say this is part of a plan that I've been cooking up for thousands of years.
It would be so cool if we actually got the War of the Chaos Legions too.
Well, Slaanesh would be fucking pissed and it would be a race between Slaanesh and Isha. A race between Slaanesh and Nurgle to see who can find Isha first.
Yep. And the weird thing is I don't think the Aeldari as a species is strong enough to protect her against the Chaos Gods. We might.
Well, if she gets spirited away into the webway, though,
Well, I mean, we've seen demons overtake the webway before, and there's a certain magical idiot that's really good at blowing holes in those.
True, but there's also a Eldar god who lives there and is very beneficial towards Isha. So you could argue that the webway is really Segarak's domain. You get Isha into the webway, and the Harlequins are going to fight their asses off to protect her long enough to get her to Segarak. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that is true.
That's
you have all the Phoenix Lords to fight.
Zarquaichi says, would Korn fight a weakened foe? Yes, hell yes he would. Of course he would.
Oh yeah, Korn has an entire unit dedicated to killing weaklings and cowards. Those are the Korn dogs.
The hounds, the flesh hounds, yes. Elemental Exposure, thank you for the super chat. He says, would Nurgle trade Mortarian's soul to keep Isha?
Yes.
Very likely. Very, very likely.
Yes, instantaneous yes. Like, he would trade Mortarian's soul for like a Snickers bar. He does not like Mortarion at all. It's really funny that no one likes Mortarion. Everyone hates Mortarion, and it's super funny to me.
So possibly let's briefly talk about how Isha's works with Nurgle's cycle right now. The current cycle works like this. Nurgle creates a new plague, tests it on Isha. Isha cures herself, and then whispers the cure into reality. Nurgle refines the plague, and the process continues. This cycle, while monstrous, has a silver lining. The mortals of the galaxy have this secret invisible ally in their battle against the poxes of Nurgle. If you take Isha out of the equation, then you get two possibilities. First of all, the cures, in the first scenario, the cures just stop coming. People stop having the ability to fight Nurgle's plagues. That's bad. That's actually very, very bad. The plagues would become significantly more lethal. Mortal civilizations would lose their divine advocate in the Garden of Nurgle. And you could say that if Isha's removed, the danger of Nurgle grows stronger, does not weaken, it grows stronger. Now, the second option here is that freeing Isha, though, would allow her to unleash all of her accumulated knowledge. She's spent over 10,000 years not just surviving, but learning.
Yep.
And so if she's been exposed to every single plague that Nurgle's ever devised, she potentially carries within her the cure to every disease in the arsenal of the warp, which is a big deal. And if Isha herself is a counter weapon against Nurgle, then she could potentially end up as a panacea that not only could heal, but could potentially destroy Nurgle once and for all.
Which is horrifying.
Just saying.
She literally brings a bar of soap to him.
I mean, and let's be clear, no one would be more motivated to get rid of Nurgle than Isha.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's a lot of things that would happen to the Aeldari as well. Do we want to? We could. I feel
Aeldari
like
would get their cycle of rebirth back.
There would be a lot going on, but I think people want us to fast forward to the how does this done?
Yes, and then we can talk about the aftermath afterwards.
Right. I mean, there's a very specific fan theory that there are multiple Primarchs and Isha that are all part of the same arc. And the most popular version goes like this: Layman Russ's mysterious quest into the Eye of Terror, where he goes searching for a legendary tree of life or healing power for the Emperor, is actually a quest for Isha. Now, this is where I get to talk about who Layman Russ is.
Yes. We got there.
Yeah, we did get there. I said we would. Alexis, who are the Primarchs?
So the Primarchs are the demigod sons of the Emperor. They are, for the most part, mostly immortal until they get killed. Like their head cut off or something like that, or something actually obliterates their whole body, and then sometimes they even come back from that.
Vulcan specifically could come back from that.
They are genius level, intelligent, extremely charismatic, very powerful beings that are used as generals to guide the Imperial armies, and more specifically the Space Marines across the entire galaxy on a campaign of global conquering in order to unify all of humanity across the stars. And the way they do this is by butchering everything in their path, including the same humans they're trying to protect, if they don't conform exactly to the Imperium. Yeah.
So Layman Russ specifically is the Primarch of the Space Wolves, the gene father of the 6th Legion. And he was raised on the death world of Fenris, which is an ice world with a lot of monsters that live under the sea. And it's a Viking world. It's full of people that basically carry on very Viking-like traditions and Viking-like culture. There on Fenris, Layman Russ became a warrior king with 2 famous wolf companions, Freaky and Geary. And then he was found by the Emperor and brought to his legion and became the Primarch of the Space Wolves. He's also called the Great Wolf or the Wolf King, and he's famous for his brutal and direct fighting style, his deep personal loyalty to the Emperor, and a cultivated barbarian image that conceals his real tactical cunning. During the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, he served as the Emperor's executioner. He was often sent to punish or destroy wayward legions, or it's implied that, at least it's implied that that was his role. Nearly 2 centuries after the Horus Heresy, on the Feast of the Emperor's Ascension, Russ received a mysterious vision. He left Fenris with his chosen companions and vanished. His ultimate fate is unknown, and the Space Wolves periodically launch great hunts searching for his return, trying to find a way to bring back their lost Primarch. It is like I said, the fan theory is that he's out there searching for some way to heal or restore the Emperor, and that leads to Yggdrasil, or the Tree of Life, which it could be a representation of Isha.
Yep.
Now, one of the best parts of this theory is one that I know one of our fans, Ricardo Andre, is going to be really excited about, and that is the involvement of Mortarion. So Mortarion is another Primarch who was not at all eager to become a demon prince under Nurgle. This was something that he was kind of forced into, and he kind of hates it.
Yeah, he does.
So if Mortarion were to cross paths with Layman Russ, it's possible that they could end up joining forces to rescue Isha, as a big middle finger for Mortarion to Nurgle, who is very similar to the Xenos witch, the alien sorcerer that was his adopted father on the planet of Barbarous, that he never got to destroy because the Emperor pulled him away before he got a chance to do it. So this would be a hell of an arc for Mortarion. Maybe not redemption per se, but certainly a way for him to achieve what he's always wanted to achieve.
So one of the things that adds to this theory is when the Emperor spoke to Mortarion, one, he spoke to him in a clear sentence, which is something that he's barely done to anybody else. But he said that when I'm ready, I will come for you as well to rescue him. And it could be that this sends Mortarion down that path of rescuing Isha, because he knows that Nurgle does not like him.
And it is also said in the same book, I believe, that none of the Primarchs are beyond redemption.
Yeah,
according to the Emperor, at least in the Emperor's eyes. So with Mortarion, you could get safely into the Nurgle, the Garden of Nurgle. You could get into Nurgle's domain. Mortarion has almost certainly been to Nurgle's laboratory and could guide Leman Russ there. The Primarchs are made, their creation involves the power of the warp. So they are not merely mortals. They would have some ability to interact with the divine domain and possibly even Isha and her, that divine hold that we talked about is something that could be weakened by Mortarion and maybe possibly broken by Leman Russ. And if you really want to get mythic with this legend, this idea, right? In my head, Mortarion is the guy who's like, you go, I'll hold him off. And Mortarion is the guy who ends up sacrificing himself to save Isha.
Finally
right.
sacrificing himself for a cause greater than himself.
Right.
Which he has always been denied.
Exactly. That would connect a lot of dangling threads.
And in that moment of him dying to protect his brother, I think the Emperor would come for him.
Rush is asking, why is Russ helping Isha again? Is Isha wearing dog ears or something? No, the idea is that Russ is rescuing Isha because she is the key to healing or restoring the Emperor. She is that quote-unquote tree of life that he's been searching for, that Russ has been seeking, that he saw in a vision that could heal and restore the Emperor and his body.
Yep.
And Rush furthermore asks, why is the Executioner staying his blade for a chaos-infected Xenos god? I presume you're meaning Mortarion. Mortarion and Leman Russ do have a bond because they were brothers. They were part of the same group. Prior to the Horus Heresy, during the Great Crusade, all of the Primarchs shared certain bonds of brotherhood. And maybe there is still some, I remember when you were not a complete asshole in Leman Russ. And also, well, in addition, you also need Mortarion to get in to the Garden of Nurgle. You would need that guide. Leman Russ is good. He's not that good. If Rush means why isn't he killing Isha, which that may be what he means, then if you kill Isha, that's there's no hope for the Emperor anymore. I don't feel like Russ would just kill Isha. Like, I think he would be like, well, I've come all this way. I might as well see if she can heal the boss.
Yeah.
Might as well see if she can heal the boss. Nestor Vitumbra, if you're out there, and Ricardo Andre, if you're out there listening, please comment, because I think this is something that you guys would really like. Isha crying for her children as Segarak, as the Jester, tries to get her with more hope to help the Aeldari more. That's something Ricardo Andre said. It is a reflection of their roles. And this is the comment. Ricardo Andre says, light is within you all. You are all my sons. You are born of light. None of you are beyond redemption. This is from Conrad's Primarch novel. And Godblight says, perhaps one day you might be saved. Specifically, is that the one specifically to Mortarion?
Yeah, it's specifically to Mortarion.
Right. So
just remember, the Emperor talks like that, but he's not a god.
Right. The Emperor's, he's I think that during the Great Crusade, he did not think of himself that way, and I think the 10,000 years of worship transformed him into a god.
Yeah, whether he liked it or not.
So that is one of the fan theories of how Isha could be freed. Obviously, the Aeldari want her freed. And you can imagine a raid upon the garden from the Eldar doing it themselves. Now, the two-step problem. How do you get into the garden, and then how do you get her out and hide her from Slaanesh? So the Inari have already been into Nurgle's mansion. They have seen Isha in the current lore. So a second attempt is not out of the question.
It's not an impossibility. It's just very, very stupid.
So they would have to deal some sort of metaphysical blow to Nurgle to weaken, or more likely to distract him. Some sort of huge distraction to draw his attention away.
Look, a Carnifex.
Yeah, something along those lines. And while Nurgle's attention is focused outward, then you have an elite team of the Inari and the Harlequins. And what the hell? Throw in some Corsairs and Exodites and Drukhari. Why not? Just make it a multicultural Aeldari force. They could use their artifacts, their technology, their webway routes, Harlequin trickery, psychic powers, all the weird shit that the Aeldari have. They could reach Isha and open up a gap in her prison. Psychically, probably they would pry open a gap using the Farseers and using their psychic might, because again, the Aeldari are very strong in the war. And they could possibly, Parker Maestera says, the Eldar, hey, wait, did someone burn down Nurgle's garden? Get them, boys! It's our chance.
Yeah.
I could see this sort of psychic pry bar opening up a gate in her prison, opening up a gap in her prison, possibly by channeling the sorrow or the hope of the Eldari race into her. Maybe some sort of symbolic petitioner, or a child, or some sort of, sculpture, just some sort of symbolic entity of this hope and need and sorrow. And that would give Isha what she needs, the power to blow her way out and flee into the webway, or possibly into the infinity circuits, because she might die in the process, and that's why you have Ivrain there to capture her soul.
Or she gets sharded across the galaxy.
Or she gets put into a giant spirit stone. There's a lot of possibilities here. But this does keep the focus very squarely on the Eldar rather than the Imperium. Now, the Eldari, of course, would want to rescue their own goddess, and not have. Even in the Layman Russ Mortarian version, I think we would want to see some sort of involvement from the Eldar, just so that they're not completely shut out.
So, my big thing is, what if the only escape for Isha is death? Like the same death that the Avatar, Cain suffered, where she gets obliterated in this case, and all those shards go into the mortal realm. And now the Eldar have a quest of going around the galaxy collecting all of it to reform
Gotta catch them all.
Because
this would,
well, yeah, but this would explain like the whole sending the executioner instead of sending, like, I don't know, Korax or somebody to actually go and get her and escort her out, where the executioner is probably strong enough to destroy her. Meaning that she wants to die to get out, because her death could be a physical death.
Well, I imagine anybody who's lived with Nurgle for 10,000 years wants to die at least a little bit.
Nonsense. I'd want to keep living.
Zarquestion says,
to see what 10,000 years from now looks like.
Zarquestion says, wait. If Ivrain is Gilliman's girlfriend, does that mean Isha would become Russ's girlfriend?
Obviously.
I mean, Eldar waifus for everyone, I guess.
And then you just see Jagatai come riding back on his motorcycle with two girls next to him. Yeah.
You could also power up Isha through some form of sacrifice. You could increase her warp footprint, for lack of a better word. Some sort of Isha cults maybe could arise amongst the Eldari, and through prayers and rituals or more souls dedicated to her, this could power her up in some way. Just create some sort of one-time power spike for Isha through worship or sacrifice.
Would do this really, really well? and is in the Eldari mythology a mass suicide.
I was thinking a craft world could sacrifice itself to do this.
Well, like I was actually thinking what is that their one ultimatum where all of them die.
The
Uh
Ronadandra?
yeah, they do the Ranadandra, which offs all the Eldari, rebirths you need, and also is so powerful that it gives her the ability to escape.
Hmm. Well, it is 40K. Nothing's achieved without some sort of sacrifice. It's always a Pyrrhic victory. So the Ronadandra feels a little more final, but at the
Yeah,
same time, it's not.
unfortunately.
At the same time, a step along that path or a part of the Ronadandra or like a preview of it, that would make sense. I could see that happening. And
Yeah.
that would certainly be a way to rally the Eldar in the first fucking place, would be to have the Phoenix Lords roll around to all the craft worlds to be like, hey, it's coming, the Ronadandra. You need to come with us because we're get in the car, loser. We're going to go rescue Isha.
Get in, losers. We're going to the warp.
Right? I mean,
What?
that's also a thing that could definitely happen. But that rescue would depend on some sort of mass self-sacrifice. I think because it's 40K.
Mm-hmm.
You could have Isha escape not so much in her full aspect, but as an avatar of herself.
True.
Eniad has an avatar. Kane has an avatar. It's not out of the question for Isha to have an avatar. So if there's
we get
a
Treeman in 40K,
that would be rad as hell, wouldn't it? Oh my god. And Isha, we need to talk about how Isha would become obviously the patron of the Exodites.
yeah,
Because that would be just
1000%. The world tree, come on.
right. Nestor Vertumbra. Perhaps Russ simply found an old Wifrip rulebook that mentions the Tree of Hope and believed it was a real esoteric text from the third millennium.
It's not out of the question. I mean,
very good. Very good.
Ross, I blame you for this specifically, but there are some really funny things that you can get in Wolfrup, like an Auspex.
Mm-hmm.
Just flat out, a 40K Auspex is in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I think a bolt pistol is as well.
So there were a number of things that were awards for the Dark Shadows campaign in the early 2000s, and they were all 40K things that were brought over to fantasy. There was a Power Fist, there was a Las Pistol, there was an Auspex, all of those things. It was the last tongue-in-cheek reference between that connected the two settings, because it was right about then that they decided to split fantasy and 40K very, very far apart. I was there. I was literally there when this happened. All right. So where was I? There could be some sort of galactic Eldar event, like a mass uprising of some kind, a coordinated group of Exodites and craft welders reclaiming a whole bunch of maiden worlds from Nurgle or other forms of corruption. You could have some way to reverberate that triumph through the warp could weaken Nurgle's metaphysical hold on Isha while simultaneously feeding her domain of life and fertility and growth. Now, you could argue that Eniad's becoming a full god would actually achieve that too. And there would be a resonance of that aspect that could help. It could just create just enough of a window for the Eldari to slip in, grab Isha, and slip away while everyone's distracted with all this craziness going on. And I'm sure Nurgle, of course, would be very like, "Wait, what are you doing? You've recaptured worlds from chaos. That's bad." And they're all healthy and vibrant with life. Ricky Chapman 3377 gives us a super chat. Welcome, Ricky Chapman. He always gives us these great super chats from his home RPG campaign. Ricky says, if we figured that if Isha were to break out, it would be the clowns doing it. That is the Harlequins, I believe. Most likely, probably during the burning of Nurgle's garden.
Yeah. Now, one way that I would do this, because I've been thinking about this. Lehman Russ, I don't want it explained. Okay? That's one of the big things. I want it to remain a mystery because I like mystery in 40k. I hate when things are just flat out explained perfectly. But I also wish stories had endings because holy crap, do I hate like the endings of wars where it's like the war is ongoing. It's like fucking end the story. Come on. Which is why I like the Armageddon Wars as much as I do because the wars start and end. But I think when Lehman Russ does come back, there should be an Eldari child following him. And it's something that he gives to the Eldari. And, I still want him to be like giant werewolf man because I think that'd be super cool. But I want the child to be like the avatar of this new god and has to grow up like with the idea that Nurgle growing up in the Nurgle's garden and all of that torture and then going to an Exodite world would be amazing. Like that way you get like this darker version of the god that fits into the 40k universe where she doesn't care about the sacrifice of her own people because she could just make more. Where it's like the complete antithesis of what the Eldari want. And each time she reborns them, maybe like part of their soul is slowly pulled away from them, similar to that of the Drukhari. So we still get this dark aspect of like the avatar of Isha, where
maybe one other theory is that if Rain would be like a natural fit for this in a lot of ways. Not only does she have a strong connection to a god that's about to be born, which is Iniad, but if Rain is also searching for the Crone Swords and any kind of raid on Nurgle's palace, on the Garden of Nurgle, on the domain of Nurgle, there might be a Crone Sword there. And this would be an opportunity that Ivrain would probably seize if she knew there was a Crone Sword in the garden and wanted to grab it and Isha at the same time.
I mean, it is your brain. She would probably tell all the Eldari that they're going to rescue Isha.
Right, but the actual goal is the Crone Sword.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's like, oh no, we failed to get Isha. Dang it.
But at least we got this Crone Sword, and now that helps my journey continue.
Oh, dang it.
So yeah, I mean it's a Hail Mary, but it's a well-established Hail Mary.
Yeah, I like it.
So I think that's interesting. Elemental Exposure gives us a super chat. Says, got to keep the Grimdark with a twist. Like, woo, she's back. Isha's back, but she's not quite right. Like Pet Cemetery, not quite right.
Yes.
Well, we're going to discuss that. We skipped ahead because you guys are all like, well, how? So we're off talking about how, but we will get back to the possible aftermaths as well, for sure. So yeah, I think you would want to have Segarak and the Harlequins involved. Just yes. They're masters of the trick play. Segarak knows the web way. Segarak is a natural ally for Isha. Segarak would be a great one to set off some sort of multi-layered distraction that would capture the attention of Nurgle and draw his attention away.
I think we need to reform the Power Rangers from the Gathering Storm book. And by that, I mean, a Solitaire, Ethereal Stern, her boy toy, Yvrain. Well, no, Greyfax wasn't involved in that one.
Oh, was she? Okay.
And the Harlequin and the others that were involved in that story that is kind of pointless. But reform that group to go as a strike force into Nurgle's garden now that it's burning.
Possibly. I wanted to make the point that Segarak, as the god of tricksters, he pulling off the impossible heist is squarely within his wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
So Segarak and the Harlequins, I think, would have to be a part of your Power Ranger team for sure.
Yes.
To do this, to pull it off. Again, I think he'd be perfect for setting up that big distraction because again, he's very good at that shit too.
All of a sudden, Carnifexes.
I mean, bringing the Tyranids into Nurgle's garden would be horrifying. And again, very 40k though, because then you'd be like, oh god, whoever wins, we lose. Oh no.
Imagine Tyranids with the abilities of Nurgle.
Yeah, scary. Just
Because
terrifying.
now we're not going to say that the hive, like, because it would be an entire tendril of Tyranids. They would eventually lose to Nurgle. Like, a tendril is not beating a god.
No.
But that would be one hell of a fight for the Tyranids because they would instantly start adapting to every disease that Nurgle has as quickly as Nurgle is making them. So now you have all of these Tyranids crashing on the planet, and it wouldn't take them a very long time to realize, like, hey, soul magic does damage here. Huh. Do we
Well,
have a unit that sucks out souls?
the Doom of Malatai. Hello.
Imagine a Doom of Malantai in the warp, pulling energy from souls in the warp.
All right, so hear me out. I'm gonna use your phrase. Hear me out.
Okay.
Segrak tricks a splinter of a fleet into Nurgle's domain. It's the distraction. The burning has already occurred. Nurgle is weak. The time is now. Segrak's Harlequins team up with Mortarion, Layman Russ, and Ivrain, and the three of them, along with their Power Ranger team of buddies and maybe a Phoenix Lord or two, storm Nurgle's palace. They suffer horrible losses along the way. They find Isha. They maybe glimpse a crone sword. If Rain pulls off some bullshit, and they all try to escape, but they can't because there's a huge mass of Nurgle forces, maybe led by a named character of some kind. And Mortarion, sure, why not? And Mortarion's like, brother, go. I will hold them off. And Mortarion sacrifices himself in his awesome moth form, burning with the light of the lantern that he's always wanted to be, that beacon of hope. He gets his final act, sacrificing himself. Isha and Russ and the Harlequins, they race out of Nurgle's domain into the webway at the very last second, just before the Tyranids and Nurgle are just like wrestling with each other in the background. And this gives you the big. This is the heist. This is the big escape.
Mm-hmm. Hear me out, because I'm a sucker for this kind of story. I love the self-sacrificing stories. I love when Puss in Boots sacrificed himself to save Shrek. Obvious joke, but okay. Scabatrax stabs Mortarion. Scabatrax being an ancient, great unclean one. Mortarion's form is starting to die. Mortarion takes a lantern and smashes it on Scabatrax, bursting himself and him in flames. Okay? But these flames aren't normal.
They're pure flames. They're purifying flames.
They're the burning light of the Emperor.
Nice.
Burning his entire body, ultimately purifying him. And, well, I still want him to die. Don't get me wrong. I want him to die.
Yeah, but Mortarion joins the Emperor at his side in his domain when he dies. He is fully removed from Nurgle's grasp.
Yep.
That's just like Isha. So it's a 1-2 punch on Nurgle at this point.
Yeah.
He lost his Primarch and his Isha. That's pretty wild.
I like it. I like it a lot. It's a bit too like Hero Hammer, but
I mean, we're just what ifing. We're speculating. Nobody's written this down. I gotta admit though, I would love this story. I would read this book. I would be into it. I would be as into it as I was with the Gathering Storm and all the stuff leading up to Gilliman's return. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with losing a Primarch to gain a Primarch. I'm okay with Tyranids becoming even a greater threat while weakening and harming Nurgle. There's a lot of things we can do here.
The scariest thing out of this whole event is the one Tyranid vessel that escapes back to reality.
Full of plagues, just seething with plagues.
Just yeah. And then you just like aboard the Tyranid vessel, you hear the laughter of like Scabatrax or another named Great Unclean One. That would be sick.
Well, Ricardo Andre points out that this whole thing would take place in the warp because it's about myth and belief, so it would be very Hero Hammer, and that might even make those dramatic moments even more dramatic.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. But man, that would be such a good story though. Like Mortarian's final redemption is that the light that he's always been searching, the lantern that he's always been carrying has always been the Emperor by his side, just smashes it, bursts into flames, and just for a brief moment he doesn't have the butterfly wings, but instead the golden wings of an angel.
That would be what I mean. We would need some build up for Mortarion because he's been
Yes.
sidelined for a long time. But yeah. All right, so let's talk about let's assume that is the story, and let's talk about what would happen afterwards for the Aeldari specifically. This would be one of the most transformative events in the entire setting for the Aeldari to rescue one of their gods.
Well, hold on, because they don't get to just go to the Aeldari. Okay, there's going to be a whole lot of Ordo Xenos in the way.
Well, sure. But let's talk about what happens to the Aeldari.
Oh yeah.
In general, like Isha's return, what does this mean, right?
Well, suddenly the Eldar can potentially reproduce again. They can be safer because they have a god to protect them.
And she can create soul stones, spirit stones.
Yeah.
She can just give them a shitload of spirit stones because those are the tiers of Isha. This would remove that critical limiting factor on the Aeldari and would help with the repopulation of their species, first of all. Mm-hmm. But it would also protect more of them, and you would see spirit stones. A flow of spirit stones would possibly allow for a revitalization of their military because you'd have a lot more wraith constructs. You'd have a lot more different types of armor that the Bone Singers can work with and different types of vehicles that the Bone Singers can incorporate spirit stones into. This would be a great chance to refresh the Craft World range and possibly the Dark Eldar range, which needs a refresh, frankly, in my opinion. So a free Isha would theoretically be capable of producing a lot more spirit stones, and that would now, since that's no longer a finite resource, the Aeldari could really start to boom in population.
Mm-hmm. So here's a good question.
Yeah, Parker Mystera says, real talk, what new units are created that Games Workshop can sell for insane prices? Lots. Events like this give them a chance to do a lot. Like we just said they could replace 2 entire ranges of miniatures.
Well, the Aeldari range has been replaced. It just got most of its range refreshed. It just needs like one more Phoenix Lord and it's done. Aside from its tanks.
Yeah, but that was also true of the Firstborn Space Marines.
What I'm thinking is Isha goes to the Crone World, the Craft Worlds, not Craft Worlds, Exodite Worlds. Thank you, Brain.
Right. Let's talk about that because Isha is operating full divine capacity. That is fertility. That's healing. That is that tree of life, and that is perfectly. It's a perfect fit to bring the Exodite range into the main lore to create a new faction of, well, not a new, but to give an old faction a presence in the setting.
Now, I have a way to justify her going to them.
Okay.
So, if she were to go to one of the Craft Worlds, the other Craft Worlds would get jealous. Eldar are incredibly emotional creatures. They would think of it as a power struggle at that point. Okay? So, they might start fighting one another for the possession of Isha. The Drukhari would also be like, oh shit, one of our gods is back. Well, let's put her to the test. Start fighting them and everything. I think Isha would be the one to make the decision to go to the Exodites as a way of it being totally fair for everybody else.
Rush points out that Bonesinger healers could be like an apothecary and a tech marine at the same time.
Yes.
That's a fun fact.
The Exodites back for like such a small amount of time, and then their model got discontinued, and I was super pissed about it.
The Exodites are the natural Isha faction. They are The Exodites are Aeldari who left the decadent empire of the Dominion long before the fall of the Eldar. They settled on Maiden Worlds. They live, as far as we know, because there's not a lot of info about them, but as far as we know, they live fairly simple, low-tech, agrarian lives that are closely tied to the land. They deliberately rejected the path that birthed Slaanesh. So thematically, they're already very close to Isha's domains of fertility, growth, and nature. They have their own infinity circuits, which are called world spirits, that are inside a planet rather than inside a craft world. So these would be the Eldari that Isha would have a very strong natural connection to, and the logical first recipients of her direct guidance if she were to escape. So Isha plus Exodites is basically just a reflex pairing. It's the mother goddess with the children who never betrayed her ethos.
And then you have the whole line of things that GW can sell, which is important to them.
Well, sure. And like you were saying, Isha's presence or her avatar's presence could act like a spiritual shield against Slaanesh and against Nurgle at the same time. They could her presence could safeguard their souls from Slaanesh, while also her healing abilities and her knowledge of Nurgle's plagues would keep them basically disease free. They would be, the Exodites would become a really great anti-Nurgle faction.
Yeah.
And the Exodite world spirits could be, like I was saying, if Isha is killed or if she's sealed into a spirit stone, putting her into the world spirits of the Exodites would be a really natural place for her spirit, her soul to go. And it would give her, even if she didn't die, even if she didn't get shattered, these world spirits would be like anchor points in reality that she could tie herself to, probably through the alliance between her and Iniad.
Yeah.
Just saying. And if you can imagine the Exodites as a force that heals unnaturally fast or regenerates in combat, if they can create terrain that fights back against their foes, that would be pretty rad for an Exodite faction.
Now, all of that is not out of the question because in Age of Sigmar, the Dryad faction can summon a forest that can attack people. We would have things like jet bikes or cavalry units, which are just the Eldar riding on cold ones. It would bring tons and tons and tons of new units. Like you would have big, what are they called? My brain just completely stopped working.
Treemen?
Not Treemen. I wouldn't go down that road. I would go down the whole dinosaur riding Eldar with like the prism cannon on the back of it. Something similar to like the lizard men. Essentially, this army would be the lizard men of 40k.
Not the wood elves.
Not the wood elves. Because I think the wood elves are too similar to the Eldari already, with the wraith constructs being the tree men, where they would have like, oh, here's my dinosaur that has a god engine on top of it, and we all ride it and poke people.
There you go. That is very lizard man.
Yeah.
We've got a super chat from Ricky Chapman that is coming in with a steel chair. Segarak tricks Gork and Mork into fighting in Nurgle's garden. Oh, that would be a distraction. While a team of solitaires are breaking Isha out, they're stopped by Rodigus and Kugath, only to reveal that Segarak himself was hidden as a solitaire, and they escape. Oh, that's good. I like that.
All of that is perfectly
that's very good. I like that.
So one thing that I really want is Gork and Mork to actually have a more presence in the 40k lore. I want them to actually just appear. Like, I don't care that they're like mythical and godlike beings. I want like just one planet or an orc to talk about that one time that Gork slammed down on his planet and then jumped off into space. I would be okay with that. Something that confirms that they're actually physical in 40k. But Gork and Mork getting told that they can go and beat up Nurgle, and Kigarath being the one to point out where Nurgle is, and saying that Nurgle fought the Emperor and won, tricking them, and them just being like, a good fight, let's go. And then
involve Tusk and Demon Killer as well.
Well, he's in Korn's domain.
Yeah, but you could still bring you could still have him. That's how Segrak gets Gorkamork to get there, is he brings over Tuska.
Fair enough.
He steals Tuska away. Tuska's like, no, by the gods of my people, no. And Gorkamork are like, okay, what is going on here exactly?
Yeah. But I could definitely see like a group of solitaires actually does sound pretty good. I would be all for that. I would personally take the group from the Gathering Storm books. That way you get Ethereal Stern and your Vrain in there too. So it explains how they survive. And then you get the bunch of nameless jerk-offs who can die.
Well, not for nothing, Ephraim Stern does travel with a Harlequin, so.
Yeah. And also somehow snuck up on your Vrain. I won a whole book on how she did that. But that being said, Gorkamork actually fighting Nurgle would be hilarious. Like, and each time that they punch like Nurgle down, either Gork or Mork try to go to punch your brain, punch Isha as well, and he has to like get up, whip out his katana, and start fighting them.
So, beyond the Soul Stones.
Harganel, thank you.
Yeah, Kaigaril, that's the guy's name. Beyond the Soul Stones, a free Isha operating at full power would bless the aeldari with renewed fertility and healing. This would potentially mean that the Death Guard would not have much they could do against aeldari in the future. Like if Isha was spreading her gifts equally. It might give the aeldari accelerated healing in battle. It might reverse that slow psychic and biological decline that's been affecting the entire species since the fall of the Eldar.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the Exodites, which we talked about, they are they would experience the most dramatic transformation and potentially, like I said, reemerge into 40k as a full faction that you could play.
I'd be all over that. Like, I just give me a goddamn kill team at least.
And Isha's relationship with Iniad would be synergistic. It could potentially supercharge the awakening of Iniad in general, because Iniad grows in power from the souls of dead Eldari accumulating in the infinity circuits.
Mm-hmm.
A free Isha, restoring fertility, extending the cycle of life and death, creating more spirit stones,
creating more life,
right? Which can then, go into the infinity circuit. This could dramatically increase or accelerate, I should say, the flow of souls into the infinity circuit, and thus life feeds into death feeds into rebirth. Isha's presence could turbocharge that cycle and give birth to a god capable of destroying Slaanesh, which is the prophecy of Iniad. Now,
there is one thing I do want to bring up, is that Slaanesh might be the strongest god in 40k as well as fantasy, where in the end time, Slaanesh was the one that won. She was the one that beat all the others. Now, we don't know the power scaling of 40k, and power scaling is stupid anyway, but there is a very real chance that Slaanesh could kill the other Chaos Gods. So I don't see it as out of the question that if Nurgle's domain is getting invaded, that the others don't spike and attack each other. So I could see this turning into a massive campaign where you have chaos on chaos, you have chaos on Imperial, you have Eldar everywhere fighting, and then you have Necrons being more active because the Eldar are being more active, and because all of this war is happening, and Gosgo properly organized all of his boys on Armageddon and now has the biggest Wa ever, you now have every faction superpowered, ready to fight in a gigantic campaign that in itself could be an entire edition. I'd be all for that. Because I want a big giant campaign, but we do have a really cool super chat.
Yep. Elemental Exposure says, request for a future what if Fogrim is freed from his Pokeball. That was on this poll, Elemental Exposure. The poll for this week, that was one of the options, was what if Fulgrim was freed from Trazen's galleries. With audience votes, things like how did he get out? He was traded away, he escaped, and how Robbie the Lion react. Okay, so you want us to do what ifs more like a Let's Build, where we have options at the the chat votes on. That's what it sounds like, and I'm fine with this. If is that what you guys are looking for? Is that what do you want? Is that what we all need? Is more polls, more chat
noises.
involvement? Yes, happy Slanesh noises. And he says, "Sorry, I missed the poll. There was a poll up this week that was on it, but it'll come back because I want to talk about it. But if you guys think that we're not doing this format correctly of the what if, I'd love to hear. You can go join our Discord, by the way, in case you're not familiar. Everyone in the chat is a member of what's called the Lore Seekers community. They're part of the Lorebeards Discord, and there is the Discord is very active. It's a good place for people to.
Did that work?
I think it will interact with us.
Yeah, I got it. Continue.
And the comment from Ricardo Andre is, I want to do what ifs like Andy and Sotek do. Okay, well,
I have no idea how.
We're not doing it right, apparently, Alexis. Gotta say, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. They want to get involved, and they want me to go crazy setting up polls. Or you, actually, I would if this is the case, I'm going to make you do the polls.
In that case, no, because that means that I have to log out of my own channel and log into the Lorebeards channel, and then that gets weird.
Well, me setting up the polls this also gets weird is on the Let's Builds, but I can give it a shot. All right, we will see if we can adjust our format.
Are we able to bribe outcomes? I mean, yeah, of course, we're always susceptible to bribes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's absolutely fair. Alexis, what is the bribe to change an outcome of a what if? Just pick a number.
5.
$50.
Yes.
All right, very good. we have an answer. We may change this answer as we go forward, but anyway, I appreciate the feedback, fellas. Apparently, we are not doing it right. We'll have to check in with them.
Yeah.
So about the
next meeting,
let's talk about how the Drukhari would react.
So that's an interesting one, because the Drukhari themselves would this actually pose a threat to the homunculus? Like, the homunculus coven makes most of its income cloning people and making body parts for them, but now Isha's back, and Trueborn can come back. Like, Trueborn can actually become more common.
Can exist. Yeah, it would weaken the homunculi covens to an extent. But let's just be clear: the Drukhari, they generally despise or dismiss the old gods. Yeah. They see them as weak for being annihilated by Slanesh. They do still invoke Cain culturally, but there's not really a organized worship of Cain. However, Isha is a special case. She is remembered as the mother goddess, the one who tried to protect them. And there are some sources that say that Drukhari may cry out to Isha at the moment of their death, basically yelling "Mother" as they're dragged into Slanesh's maw. So I would this is my posit, is that the majority of Drukhari would just be cynical and say we don't need her, and they would just continue as they always have.
Well, would the violence against the aeldari die down, or would it increase now knowing that they can take more slaves from the aeldari?
Well, there would certainly be some opportunistic predators, some cabals and covens. They would see Isha's return as a tool, a way to manipulate craft worlders or the Inari or the Corsairs or the Exodites, especially the Exodites, to bargain for more souls and captives and territory, access to new webway routes. There would certainly be opportunistic. So these opportunists might support some sort of rescue or alliance, but they would probably intend to betray everyone later. Now, I do think there would be Hollywood Intern asks, would Isha care for the Drukhari? I mean, who knows?
Yeah, we don't know how she would react towards the aeldari of today. It might be a Gilliman situation where she looks at all of them and is like, "Oh my God, you all failed. This is horrible. Everything sucks." She
might be that way. I do think that there would be a small minority of Drukhari that would be interested in a Isha cult. I think that there would be, if Isha even offers some sort of theoretical route to stop feeding on agony and still avoid Slanesh, like the Inari do,
Yeah.
I think you would see a small number of Drukhari, maybe especially the oldest and most jaded of their kind, because these are the ones that have watched lovers and friends slowly wither away and die under the constant need for suffering. They might be the ones that form the core of this new Isha cults on Cormorant.
Fair enough. Now I got one for you. I got one. So I saw somebody post that Vect captures her. What if Vect went after her and Isha just looked and went, "You're not Vect."
Well, we do want to talk about the Dark Muses sometimes, and Vect has declared himself a living muse. Asdrubal Vect is the supreme overlord of Cormorant, which is the home of the Drukhari, the Dark Eldar. It's a city that lies within the heart of the Webway. Vect is known to be a schemer par excellence and has died at least once, if not multiple times, and has returned somehow. Somehow, Vect returned.
Now, one of the coolest things could be like that's what causes a civil war amongst the Drukhari, is that she looks at them and just goes, "You're not Vect. You are no longer Vect. You are something different. You are not Aeldari anymore." And what if she looks at cloning and everything like that? Because from what we know about cloning in 40k is that it diminishes your soul somehow, sometimes. Again, all of this grain of salt. It's implied with the Kriegers that they have a dimmer soul than most guardsmen, and certain other like clones have a dimmer presence in the warp.
Well, it's well known the Tau specifically have a dim presence in the warp.
Yeah, and the kin.
And the Votian kin, right?
Yeah. So it
who
could
are
be
all
that,
clones.
yeah. And it could be that she simply cannot recognize Vect as a being anymore, as an Eldari. And that could cause like a massive war amongst the Eldari of the Trueborn or the Bright Souls versus the rest.
Ricky Chapman says, "Hear this out. Isha becomes patron of the homunculi."
I mean, okay.
What if the Isha cult was the homunculi?
It could be. So, from what we know about the Drukhari, is that they are the excess of what the Eldar's culture was like, the Eldari Empire was like. So, the homunculi could represent what Isha's practices were to the extreme. So you're not out of like this is accurate. Like because the way I see it is Isha's cult is the Spirit Seers, the Wraith Seers, and the Homunculi. Like anybody who built and maintained bodies, that's Isha.
So there is another theory I do need to cover before we move on, and that is that there is some sources of Eldari prophecy suggest that Isha will willingly submit to death's power, which would allow life to consciously yield to death. And this may be the one way to look at this, is that Isha would sacrifice herself, maybe as part of the rescue attempt, to be the final thing that allows Ennead to fully awaken.
Okay.
And if this were true, this would absolutely, like, what if Isha is the final Crone Sword? What if Yvraine is along on part of the rescue, but she's not there to rescue Isha, she's there to kill her, to use her to fully rebirth Ennead into reality.
Oof.
That expression on your face. I'm sorry.
I love it though.
I love it, but it's so grimdark. I love it. It's extremely grimdark.
I have a sneaking suspicion the last Crone Sword is actually Yvraine.
I mean, it's 40k. A lot of weird stuff can happen.
Yeah.
So, what do you think would happen to the dynamics of chaos if Isha were to be resurrected?
Oh, they're gonna kill each other. Like,
okay, please expand on that.
Okay, So if Isha is freed, Slanesh is going to want to go after her. If Slanesh charges into a battle, Khorne is going to attack her because that's what Khorne does. Anytime there is a war, Khorne is right there to fight Slanesh. But Nurgle's going to be the one going after her. So that means that Tzeentch is going after them, which means that there's now. Okay. So the way I see it is you got one spot up here. Boom. Right there. Boom. That's Isha. Okay. You have two forces going after her, which is Slanesh and Nurgle. Okay. And then split off from them, the ones going after them are going to be Khorne after Slanesh, Tzeentch after Nurgle. And they're going to have some dance partners in there as well. And as they're battling, this is going to unify some of the Aeldari to fight against the, crazy amount of chaos stuff that's happening. They're going to call upon all of their mortal servants, which is, the 4 Chaos Legions, the ones that are strictly dedicated to them. I'm not talking like Pro Turbo or anything like that.
Death Guard, Emperor's Children, World Eaters, and Thousand Suns.
Yep. Word bearers are going to get involved, being like, "This is the time, blah blah blah. We have to go."
It's the ultimate battle of ultimate destiny.
Yeah, and they're going to be the ones trying to go after Isha as well because they want to sacrifice her to the greater gods. Blah blah blah, big strategy and everything. Vashtor might actually get involved. Same with Be'lakor, but Bellacor's okay. So Be'lakor in 40k isn't really after anything, which is kind of weird. He's just kind of big demon. Where Be'lakor from fantasy would definitely seize this opportunity to try to destroy a chaos god and take their place. Be'lakor 40k would just be like, I remember when I fought Vashtor that one time and won and left. So he might get involved, but Vashtor definitely would get involved. This would halt anything that Abaddon is currently doing, as he would have to. Well, he's currently at the no, he's not at the Pria Nexus. What is it called? The pathway that he's at right now.
Sorry.
Vigilus. He's at Vigilus.
Vigilus. Okay. Yeah.
So his plans might get disrupted. Nurgle would be retreating. The World Eaters have already taken a beating from invading Armageddon, so their legion is weakened. So you have all of them fighting against the Aeldari and the Imperium, obviously, because the Imperium's going to be like, "These are our worlds, get off of it." The heightened Aeldari and psychic pressures and everything would awaken way more Necrons who are going to be like, "Holy shit, everyone! We're here to kill all of you." But damn, the Votann might use this to become more relevant.
I need to address a comment from Ricardo Andres. Says, where does that theory come from? That lore? He's talking about the Isha and life must willingly submit to death. I misspoke. That is pure speculation on my part, but it is very mythic. It is the kind of thing that you would expect out of an Aeldari mythic cycle for, in order to, it's like the Sphinx from Mystery Men. In order to master your rage, you cannot let rage become your master, right? If life begets death, then death would then beget life as Eniyad becomes supercharged and rises to full godhood and then defeats Slanesh. That was my speculation and not anything from Games Workshop canon, to be clear.
Now, it would be even better if all of that happened and then Isha still died to Slanesh. Like they do this mass sacrifice, right? Give her as much power as possible. Eniyad and Isha are right there to fight Slanesh, and Slanesh still wins.
So a destabilized Nurgle would be one of the outcomes here. And you talked about how that would maybe cause a massive civil war.
Keep in mind, we also have Nurgle just did the Death Guard just did the Plague Wars. So their numbers are reduced. Not by a lot, but their numbers are reduced. The World Eaters' numbers are reduced. The Thousand Suns are still recovering from the War of Fenris. The World Eaters are still recovering from the Armageddon battles. So this is actually kind of a reverse fall of Cadia for them. This might actually be a time where the Chaos Legions are actually on the back foot, even though they should be winning.
Right. The internal power dynamics of Chaos would shift dramatically.
You know who might take full advantage of this?
Vashdor.
Well, not only Vashtor, not only Perturabo, but Abaddon.
Abadabadubadon.
Yabba would definitely be the type of general to come in and stop the forces from fighting and then try to recruit them into the Black Legion.
He would establish himself as an even greater authority within the forces of Chaos. Yeah. That would be one way to go. Now, if Isha survives and is freed completely, she needs a place to hang out. She needs sanctuary. And her options are fairly limited. Oh, wait, we got a super chat. Ricky Chapman. Gork comes in with a steel chair, followed up by a gut punch from Mork. Oh, Chaos is not looking good from that beatdown. I love it. He's reading it like a sports announcer. That is great.
Also, I think I really like this one. Abracadabradon.
Abracadabradon. That's great. What's in the Warp Rift? Thank you, Mornington Crescent. So the places that Isha could potentially hide out, the webway is the one we talked about before, and I think is still possibly the best option. It's where Sagrak has hidden himself for millennia. And the Laughing God already hides from Slaanesh there. He knows all the good places to hole up. And it's likely he would very much welcome Isha's addition to his refuge. So Sagrak is a schemer on a cosmic scale, and keeping the goddess of life on his side, well, that is precisely the kind of arrangement that he would have been the architect for in the first fucking place. She could also align herself with the Ynnari and Iniad. She could. Those are all forces already working towards Slaanesh's destruction. So Isha joining their cause would add a second active aeldari divine entity to what is already a small organization or movement against Slaanesh. Naturally, the Exodites would also be a great place for her to go and marshal a new faction to join the universe. But lastly, she could go to Terra.
I just thought of something really dark.
Okay, go for it.
The Emperor holds out his hand to save Isha. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Behind him, obviously, a knife, because it's the Emperor. The Emperor then enslaves her to constantly resurrect even more of his living saints.
Well, I mean, it's one of the most explosive possibilities of Isha's rescue would be the interaction between a freed Isha and a dying Emperor of mankind.
Mm-hmm.
The Emperor has been described as the greatest psyker in human history, the most powerful being in the material world, aside from the Chaos Gods. And he's slowly dying. He's sustained by the sacrifice of thousands of psykers on a daily basis. The theological and practical question is very simple. Could a goddess of life restore the Emperor? She's the goddess of life and healing, I should say. Life and healing.
So, okay. Yvraine casually mentioned that if the Emperor dies, she can revive him. Now, whether or not that's true or that's just her having bravado are two way different things. Gilliman has also mentioned that he should actually get on repairing the Golden Throne, but he has to put it off until he can finish his crusades and everything that he's busy with, which also implies that he could fix the Golden Throne, which I don't believe. But again, that could just be bravado. Like, he believes himself to be able to do it.
Call probably said, I could do it. Don't worry, guys. I've got this.
Yeah, I could probably figure it out. Let me just throw a wrench at it.
Just give me a chance.
Let me get one of my AI robots on it. There's totally nothing that could go wrong with that, right?
Right.
But a resurrected emperor in exchange for protection is an interesting idea.
Well, it's plausible that she could repair the Emperor, heal him. Her powers before the fall of the aeldari were said to be very strong. Her domain over life, regeneration, and healing is absolute within her purview, and there's nothing theoretically preventing her from healing him. It's just a question of will and circumstance and whether she survives long enough to reach the throne room. Because,
Well,
obviously getting to Terra in the first fucking place is difficult. Getting to the
does
Emperor's throne room
she
is even more difficult.
does she have to get to the Emperor's actual body to heal him?
I'm going to assume that yes, she can't just instantly heal him from across the universe, but
Well, my idea was that she goes to the Emperor's domain in the warp.
that's a possibility. But that also leaves her vulnerable to. I mean, I don't know. We do
That's a
know that,
tough one, isn't it?
right? We do. So if we accept that Isha has been whispering cures into the material world from the warp for 10,000 years, then some of those whispers may have reached Terra itself. The Emperor may have increased his own understanding of the warp and biological science through Isha's gifts. And the Emperor's plan for the Webway project, which was to try and replicate aeldari technology, it does suggest he has a very deep familiarity with their culture and possibly even with their deities.
Yeah.
So if Isha were to agree to heal the Emperor, this could remove the issue of the Golden Throne. It could free the Emperor potentially to act in the material realm for the first time since the Horus Heresy.
Unless the Grey Knights get involved and duct
Put it
tape him
back
to
on the
the
throne.
chair.
Right. It would also cement a political alliance between the aeldari and humanity that would
This is
have
sounding way too
consequences.
hopeful.
I know, it sounds very hopeful. And the Webway gate beneath the Imperial Palace could be permanently sealed or even restructured, which closes off a demonic invasion point, or which also has kept the Emperor bound to the throne. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that she could do there that would maybe change how the Emperor can act. It does sound a little too bright hope. I want to be clear, yes, but hey, we've got a super chat from Spitfire. Each time Isha resurrected a living saint, they'd lose a part of themselves until they were little more than automatons. Stormcast in 40K. Woo!
Actually, that's kind of already a thing. So in the Celestine book, each time Celestine dies, she forgets everything of who she was, and she has to relive all of her thousands of lives while fighting greater demons unpowered. Like just as a woman, just fighting them. And then she eventually gets her items back and then realizes who she is and then flies through the warp with the flies out of the Astronomicon and the Emperor guides her to where she needs to go. And then she instantly appears there. So they're kind of already Stormcast in a sense. It's just they're Stormcast with a diary.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. So what? Here's a question. We're debating hypotheticals, and I think there's something important we need to discuss. What would Isha actually be like after 10 millennia of imprisonment and torture?
Oh yeah, she'd be like a psychopath.
Well, she's been force-fed every plague Nurgle has ever devised. She's watched
Yeah.
civilizations rise and fall. Her children, the Eldari, she's watched them dwindle from a galaxy-spanning empire to scattered survivors facing fighting against extinction. And she's endured the knowledge that Slaanesh, which was born from her own children's decadence, consumes every Eldari soul that dies without a spirit stone. So she is simultaneously the most compassionate being in the galaxy and possibly one of its greatest victims.
Yeah. Well, so my thing is, even if she could heal the Emperor, why would she? Even if the Emperor is protecting her. Like, why not just extend his life slightly so that she could never be killed by him?
I mean, you bring up an excellent question. Like, why? Why would Isha agree to heal the Emperor in the first fucking place? We don't. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a reason. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
It could be a reverse of what Nurgle did to her.
It could be that. It could be she wants a weapon against Nurgle, who she hates more than anything. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there is a comment here I think we should read because this is cool.
Who would have guessed? Oof, I'm late, but I would like to say thank you, Alexis and Ross, for helping get rid of my anti 40K bias as a mega fantasy fan. Much love to y'all. Hey, thanks, man. We are very grateful to bring in people and say, there's things about this setting that are really cool and interesting, and I'm glad that you found something that resonated with
Yeah. Thank you so much.
you. Yeah, definitely. That makes me feel good because we are on the Lorebeards channel, and the Lorebeards channel is definitely rooted in the Warhammer Fantasy side. It was founded there. It's been watered by countless Lorebeards episodes and lore episodes from Andy and Ryan. So yeah, we realize we're the newcomers. Even in our second season, we're like, we're not quite sure how Andy and Ryan do what ifs, for example.
Yeah. Also, Ross, here's a question for you. What if they do free Isha and she chooses to stay with Nurgle?
Yikes! So Stockholm syndrome. That would be
Well, like,
horrible.
one, yes, but two, this way she could heal the universe from anything Nurgle throws at them. Like, what she's doing is extremely important. She
I
is
mean,
being tortured and everything, and it sucks. It's the worst experience she could ever have. But this might be the best way of preserving life for the aeldari.
well, she was always described as compassionate and maternal and protective. She is the Eldari's benevolent divine mother. So maybe her nature would cause her to try and stay where she is, but even deities are shaped by their experiences. I mean, a freed Isha might be harder, angrier, more strategically minded than the gentle
Mhm.
goddess of myth. She might be more like Segorok. She might be scheming and careful and willing to use her gifts as weapons rather than simply as a balm. She might be the most disease knowledgeable entity in the entire universe, thanks to feeding on Nurgle's gifts and figuring out how to cure them one after the other. She could be a walking archive of every pox, plague, and pestilence that Nurgle ever devised. And that process that tortured her could also, in a deeply ironic way, educate her about Nurgle's domain more thoroughly than any being outside of it. She could theoretically replace Nurgle.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, there you go. Sit with that for a minute.
that's actually terrifying.
Sit with that for a minute.
Oh, I don't like that.
That would be pretty wild.
Well, like,
uh,
could you imagine watching the galaxy for over 10,000 years and everything that you tried and every being that you protected ultimately betrayed your teachings and keeps killing each other? Because
right?
as an outsider looking at 40K, everyone is dying at all times. The worlds are horrible and it is the worst, most brutal place in the entirety of everything to exist. You are not a You're an individual in a galaxy that is cruel and uncaring. And the only thing you have to look forward to is being devoured by gods of chaos. Like, and that's if you're lucky, because then there's like bugs that might make you part of them, and then you exist throughout all of existence being a part of a bug. That's awful. She sees this on a oh, what if she called in the Tyranids?
Maybe it's attempted suicide. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most unsettling aspects of the whole scenario with Isha is that the possibility of her imprisonment is that it might be good for the galaxy's survival. Nurgle's plagues would be unleashed anyways, regardless of whether Isha is imprisoned or free. But her cures have been a constant invisible line of defense against extinction level plague events throughout her time in the garden.
Hmm.
And she is guiding the hands of many people working to eradicate disease or cure the ill or heal the wounded across the galaxy. So if she was free and hiding in the webway or sheltered by the Ynnari or on Terra or in the world spirits of the Exodites, she might not be able to produce the cures that she once was able to do. The short term aftermath might be tons of uncurable plagues spreading across the galaxy. As Nurgle's stricken with grief, furious, he's releasing all of his untested shit with no healing goddess left to inspire responses. So
Could
it's an
Nurgle become weaker because of it?
Well, almost certainly. If Isha was free, Nurgle would almost certainly be weak. Almost certainly. But again, he could potentially be replaced. If his divine essence starts to falter and flag, and the other 3 chaos gods are moving in to devour what's left, Isha might be like, you know what? I'm the new god of decay. Fuck it.
Yeah. Oh.
Now that's some profound 40k irony right there.
That truly is.
So yeah, I don't know. Freeing Isha from Nurgle's Garden is not just notable, that is a galaxy-changing event in almost every direction. Every major faction, every ongoing conflict, every divine entity in this setting would probably be affected by this in some way. The Aeldari could begin a actual, authentic renaissance. Nurgle could be wounded in ways that destabilizes the whole power structure of the 4 ruinous powers. The Emperor's fate could be potentially resolved. Slaanesh, the eternal nemesis, would have a new and desperate reason to act aggressively against the Aeldari before they can consolidate their power. It's a fascinating scenario.
It really is. Like, I'm still thinking, like, if Nurgle is destroyed, like, absolutely annihilated, something will have to fill that void. Isha being that void is kind of a crazy idea.
Ricky Chapman says Isha has a plan, but she needs Nurgle to do it. So it's quite horrifying where the cage is open and she closes it. She could escape at any time, but she won't.
Yeah, it's like when you go back in time to try to stop Harambe from being shot, and you look at him and he just goes
like
ah.
Like Pa Kent in that stupid Zack Snyder film. Oh my god.
God, that one was so dumb. Why would he not save his dad? Like that
so
was
stupid.
That was the dumbest, stupidest shit I've ever. That movie sucked. Like, don't get me wrong. The Snyderverse of DC movies is horrid.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah, I really like the David Cornsweet Superman. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
I really like
that's
that
the newest one, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to Supergirl.
That looks really good. Same.
It has Lobo in it. Let's go.
Right? Who used to be
Aquaman. The main man.
He used to be Aquaman, and now he's the main man. All right, but let's hear from chat. If you guys think there's something we haven't covered about freeing Isha, or questions that you'd like us to answer about, like what if Isha was freed, this would be a good time to do it. And I do appreciate you guys pointing out that we are not doing it the way that Annie and Ryan do it. I will say this: I will go watch one of their episodes and see if we can adopt some of their practices, because I don't mind involving chat more if that's something that they really.
One of the big things between fantasy and 40k is fantasy is more finite. Like their questions have a lot of answers.
Yeah.
Where 40k is very much an open book, and everything leads to 1,000 different things, which ultimately leads back to 3 events. And I'm not going to mention them because I'm trying not to mention a certain one in this episode.
Well, one of them's the Horus Heresy. So there's that. We did get a question here. What if Yarick was brought back by Isha?
Yarick wasn't brought back by Isha, though. Yarick was actually...
He's not dead.
Yeah, he was put back together by the Space Wolves.
He's just flat out not dead. But if he did die and was brought back by Isha, that would be... There's a lot.
Yeah, well, it would be very weird because Yarick being alive unifies the orcs. Like, as weird as that is to say, Yarick being alive is what Gazgul wants. He does also want to kill him, but he wants to fight him more than anything else. Although now he seems a bit more focused on something else, which is a little weird.
So Ricardo Andre says, can you stick to a narrative instead of theory over theory over theory? So what Ricardo Andre wants is he wants us to say we have a definitive answer for how what if Isha escaped and this is what it would be, rather than saying here's what it could mean, here's what it could mean, here's what it could mean.
But that's not 40K.
I know. I know.
But that's not 40K. That's not how any of the books answer anything either.
Uh,
Everything's always an open answer.
Isha and the Cauldron remind me of Pandora's box. She is inside there with chaos. It's definitely related to that legend of Pandora in the box for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, there is also the whole thing about whether or not the Eldar gods physically exist, or it's a concept that the Eldar believe in that is a mythos.
Yeah, well, the Eldari gods are definitely different than all the other gods in the setting, because they have avatars that do actually walk around.
Yeah.
Cain has an avatar. Eniad has an avatar.
And those avatars walking around prove that they exist, similar to how the Catan prove that the Catan exist, the shards. So it's one of those things where it's like, technically, Keepers of Secrets prove that Slaanesh exists because Keepers are part of their god. It's very weird, like, because the Eldar are the only ones that talk about the Eldari pantheon the way that the Eldari talk about their own pantheon. In all other stories of a certain event that I'm still trying not to mention, Ross can mention it. You know which one I'm talking about.
The War in Heaven.
Yeah. In that, the Catan never mentioned fighting Eldari gods at all. Like, there is no instance of them fighting gods from their own point of view. Now, that could be because the Necrons at the time, Necron tier, don't believe that what the Eldar had were gods. They probably just thought they were psychic constructs, which is why they built the Blackstone Pylon network to get rid of them, because they were a problem. But yeah, we don't know how strong the Eldar gods are. We don't know like what they're capable of. We don't know a lot about them, unfortunately.
So I here's something. I want to go back to that thing we talked about at the beginning. Like, should Isha ever be freed, as opposed to how or why? And I think Isha's imprisonment is it's a metaphor made real. It's a goddess of fertility and life trapped by decay and despair. It embodies the Eldari's lost future. And because her cage is embedded in Nurgle's realm rather than just a physical jail cell somewhere, I think it would require an event on a god level scale, in order to get her out.
Mm-hmm.
So if she's freed at all, it would probably be part of some kind of massive rewrite of the setting, like at End Times or a transition into 50K instead of 40K, something like that. This is not a casual campaign beat. This is something absolutely massive. It's one of those break glass in case of setting reboot levers.
Yeah, it is. But what do you think would be like? What is the setting without Isha? Does it?
Well, here's the thing. Freeing Isha, I think, is short term. Everything gets worse.
Yeah.
The retaliatory wars of Nurgle, the plague waves, the conflict between Eldari and all kinds of chaos creatures or beings. This would get really bad. Things can get really, really bad. But in long term wise, though, it does offer the potential for real structural change. Because if Isha survives long enough, finds sanctuary, she could become a huge accelerant for the Eldari's story, for the recovery of their species, for the full awakening of Eniad, for the eventual defeat of Slaanesh. And in the larger sense, if the Eldari are energized and on the move and getting stronger, that just means that there's a final anti-chaos coalition at some point in the future between the Imperium and the Eldari working together, maybe, who knows, or even just forming a counter pantheon to the four chaos gods with Iliad and the Emperor and Isha and, I don't know, the greater good. Why not for the fourth god? Or
Yeah.
the Votan. I don't know.
We
Ice
got a super
Veins.
chat here from Ice Veins.
If Isha returned, could her and Ivrain together possibly bring back Cain in his full form? Is that possible?
Ooh. So
Woo!
okay. So technically, yes, and we do know that if you return all the shards of a god, you can actually summon a bigger god. This is actually one of the big plots of 500 Worlds. Is that one of the Necron Destroyer Lords is actually collecting a whole bunch of shards of the Nightbringer. So, assuming they work in the same manner as they work with other gods, the bigger the shard, the stronger the avatar would be. If you collected all of the shards, which is almost an impossibility because some have just been completely obliterated. But if you collect enough of the shards that you could resurrect a god, yeah, your brain and Iliad could definitely do it. Now, whether or not they would is a whole nother story because Cain tried to kill them.
Yeah, but it would factor into a run Adandra like scenario where you have the remaining pantheon of gods fighting Slanesh in some form or another. And I would expect Cain to play a role in that final conflict for sure. Whether that would mean as his shattered selves, or whether it would be some sort of reborn Cain, god of murder, which would be one way to get the Dark Eldar on board. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. It definitely would be.
That would be one way to get the Dark Eldar on board. Would be to bring back Cain. So yes, the answer is yes. It's possible, but there's a lot of hurdles they'd have to jump over first and answer the question of why.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the big question is why would they? But I could also see them wanting to bring back Cain if Slanesh and Nurgle were actually actively after them. They would need Cain as a buffer. I won't say that Cain will win because he won't. They've been down this road before. He didn't win the first time. Uh, maybe if they give him 100 swords, he'll win.
101.
Oh yeah, 101.
So let's talk briefly about Games Workshop's storytelling patterns.
Yep.
Isha is one of those pressure point characters, like the Emperor, like Iliad, or total Fall of Cadia style catastrophes. This is the thing that Games Workshop keeps loaded like a gun until they need to use it for maximum narrative tension. It is absolutely the thing they will pull out when they need to just have a hammer blow into the lore. Now, freeing Isha would have consequences similar in scale to Gilliman's return or the formation of the Great Rift, if not even bigger, frankly, than those things. So it's probably going to be reserved for some kind of new era of the setting or a closing arc. It will not be something that they do casually. It won't just be like, oh, hey, Isha's returned.
Or it'll be when their stocks start dipping.
I mean, I don't know about that, but I'm just saying there will come a point in the flow of 40K's narrative where things have been stagnant for too long and then some event will need to occur, kind of like the return of Gilliman and the creation of the Great Rift.
Yeah.
So when that time comes, the freeing Isha from her prison is definitely one of those things that could shake up the setting so much that everyone will be like, oh shit, we got to pay attention to 40K again. Yeah. She's too important and too symbolically loaded to move lightly. That's all I'm saying.
Now, as somebody who follows the way GW releases miniatures and the way that they've acted for the last couple of years, keeps an eye on their stocks and all sorts of other things. I can say this: 8th edition was a complete renewal of Warhammer's miniature range. It was out with the old, in with the new, and they were trying their hardest to get rid of as many old models that aren't being produced as possible. 11th edition, no, sorry, 9th edition added to that and added more character to the Primaris Marines, as well as refreshing some ranges that desperately needed it. GW then realized that on a 3-month cycle that they could refresh a certain amount of things and keep people buying more. This is very important, mind you. Fast forward to 10th edition. 10th edition, we got the release of all of the NIDs. Okay, and this was pretty much the final race that was getting all of its miniatures redone. Now in 11th edition, we're seeing that they've gone back a bit and they're remaking old models that still need to be remade in a newer version, i.e., the Vanguard veterans, the certain models that were selling well back in the day that stopped selling well because they were like baby marines, the land speeder and things like that. So we're going to actually see a addition or two of old models that haven't gotten updates getting updates, and not new models. Like we're not going to see Blade Guard, a new Blade Guard veteran thing, like how Blade Guard didn't exist and now they exist. Uh, so we won't see anything like that too much, but we will see older models becoming newer again. So I think in the next two editions we won't see something like this, but the edition afterwards, that's the Fall Acadia edition. That's when something big is going to happen. That's when I can imagine that they do the Wolf Times. And then I think the ending of the Wolf Times is going to be Isha's return.
And by then, you'll need to refresh all the Eldari anyway.
Yes.
And maybe bring in the Exodites to sell even more models.
Yes.
Necro Player says, what new Primarch and Demon Primarch would you include in the Freeing of Isha campaign? Leman Russ and Mortarion. Who would you say?
Well, okay. I would definitely Leman Russ, and I would have him in two forms, similar to like how Marathi has Little Marathi and the God Snake, which is super cool. I would have Little Leman Russ, and then once per game he can turn into a werewolf. That would be his like super form or whatever.
His
last
wolfman
battle
form.
round. Yeah. I would definitely release him, and then I would probably release Pro Turbo, because we got new artwork for him, and I think that he would be a big part in this, especially with Vash Torres' backing and everything. I think Pro Turbo getting a new model would definitely be up there.
And more Primaris Lieutenants, as our question says.
Weirdly enough, we haven't gotten a Primaris Lieutenant in like a year, and it's annoying me because I want another one.
So I did
I'm joking.
I did find a fascinating fan theory that I wanted to discuss with you.
Yes, go for it.
What if a freed Isha takes on a role not unlike the Lion does for the Fallen, where she is the patron or the Lady of the Lake, if you will, for redeemed followers of Nurgle or redeemed Death Guard?
Oh,
You can imagine these plague-scarred green knights, quote unquote, seeking to free Isha or seeking to spread worship of Isha, cults of Isha. She could appear to them in visions like a sacred grove or even the Garden of Nurgle if it's subtly repurposed into a Bretonian style approach. This would be a really interesting way to bring some of that fantasy flavor. And Bretonia has always been one that needed more of this, frankly, into 40K.
I would absolutely love that. I think that would be super, super cool.
Well, hear me out. What if Isha's the one that offers the Death Guard a path to purification? Like they're on a grail quest to get cured of their various ills and redeemed as warriors of belonging to something greater than themselves that isn't a horrible demon,
I do like it. I'm not gonna lie. I do really like that
idea. I think there's something to that. There's kind of something amazing about that. I don't know. It's just fun. I like that one. Surprisingly, or maybe unsurprisingly, a lot of fans out there think that Trazyn would just capture her when she gets out.
Trazyn, like, okay, the Trazyn glaze is crazy because Trazyn can't even keep a Hormagaunt contained.
Well, she would be safer from Slaanesh there, technically.
I mean, sort of. Demons keep escaping from him too, so
yeah, I don't know. There is a consensus. The fan consensus does seem to be that the burning of the garden is the moment where you weaken Nurgle to the point where Isha can get out. It's the first realistic window in 10,000 years that gives an opportunity for this kind of event. If Games Workshop ever decides to do Exodites or an Eldar Renaissance, the burning of Nurgle's garden as the moment where this became a possibility is very likely that that's where they hang everything off of that.
Yeah. I
So I believe Ricardo Andres said, "Burn the garden, burn the god" in the past. It is a
and
way to weaken him for sure. But if
cool.
the garden burning thing is a catalyst, maybe it isn't Russ. Maybe it isn't Lehman Russ who does it. Maybe it's Angron. One of the theories says, what if Angron is rampaging and his sheer destructive presence could just tear open parts of Nurgle's domain, breaking the bonds, weakening the cage?
What is he gonna scream into another dimension like
I
Majin
mean,
Buu?
hey, Superboy Prime punched his way out of the universe.
That is
So,
true.
who knows? It would be a way to involve other Chaos Primarchs beyond Mortarion. So there's that.
All I'm
However,
saying is there is a mega shock jumper that
right?
the Eldari could use to go right to the Nurgle planet.
One very dark theory is that any escape of Nisha is actually part of Nurgle's long con. That if they successfully extract Isha, then it's only because Nurgle allowed it to happen. Maybe to spread a very specific disease through a vector no one would see coming. That being Isha, that being healing itself.
Oh, that's dark.
So Nurgle's rot hides within the goddess of life, and that could corrupt infinity circuits or webway nodes, or even the newborn form of a recently reawakened idiot.
Oh,
Roof, right? That's a grimdark twist right there.
yeah. My theory is that Isha is just dead. Like Isha is just a corpse that Nurgle keeps around and keeps trying to feed it like diseases and everything. And those whispers is actually just Nurgle coping.
There's also a meme that's quite humorous that I think you would get a kick out of.
All right, go for it.
And the meme is that Isha just doesn't want to deal with all the shit that she's going to have to deal with when she gets out. Because there's a cosmic workload from hell awaiting her. Rebuilding a species, healing the Emperor, fixing the galaxy, or I could just sit here in my cell and not have to deal with that shit.
True.
She's just not in a rush, to get out. It's kind of like she's the one person who's found a way to work from home. And so the joke is that you get the rescue team together, they get into her presence, she's like, nah, I'm good, it's fine, yeah, please don't ruin this one thing that I have, which is I get to work from home.
That's funny.
What if the most sensible being in 40K looked and said, no thanks, I'm staying in the Garden of Nurgle?
I'm good. Didn't I
mean,
tell you kids I was out for smokes? Leave me alone.
Right. We've talked about some pretty wild stuff. I love the Lady of the Lake aspect. I actually kind of like the idea of her taking Nurgle's place. That's a possibility. That was kind of there was a lot of interesting stories you could tell with that.
I don't know.
I like the idea of her hiding out in the webway too, and just being like, the secret patron of the Exodites.
I don't know. Something about her just being dead, in my opinion, like really resonates with the whole 40K vibe. Like he has his cauldron and everything. Well, he doesn't now, but he had his cauldron and he was constantly feeding this corpse the diseases and everything, and just he would be the one to release the antidotes or anything, like how to deal with it, because that's what she used to do. And this used to be something that was important to him, and now it's gone. And like it really fits into that whole like Nurgle is this jovial guy, but he's actually like deeply horrifically a monster.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the idea that it's so dark. And then when the Eldari discover it, Nurgle is just sitting there like, I tried. And like the idea that their rescue mission just ends and she's been dead this whole time is one of the darkest twists in all of 40K, because you could have this entire campaign building up to this and then she's just dead is like so peak 40K. I love it. I think that would be the greatest end to it.
So in your head canon, the team is who to go rescue her?
It's Yvrain, Carganal, uh,
Kaiganel.
Ethereal,
Yeah.
Kaiganel, Ethereal, a Solitaire, and the other characters from the Gathering Storm book, which I can't remember their names.
So no Layman Russ and no Mortarion.
None of them.
Okay.
And the whole time, Ethereal Stern is the only one voicing reason.
She's like, what if she's dead?
She's gone. You guys have no hope. You just need to desperately cling on to life.
But in this scenario, if you bring around Yvrain, couldn't Yvrain restore her to life theoretically?
Well, it's maybe a physical being, so she resurrected Gilliman. So there is a possibility, but Gilliman was only kept alive because of the suit. So resurrecting her body might just keep her dead. Like, it would resurrect her, and then she would immediately die of all the diseases that she's been fighting that killed her.
All right, so the rescue team of aeldari plus Ephriel Stern, they get in, they find Isha, and Isha's dead. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
All right, now, just for the sake of argument, what if they do manage to free Isha somehow and get her out? What happens
if they
next?
get her out, I think it's Nurgle war. Like it's Nurgle coming with the full fury of everything he's got. It's all of his plague legions, it's all of his knights, it's all of his titans, it's everything he's got thrown at the Eldar to get them back. Like I think he would tell his all of his followers to abandon any war zone they're currently in and just strike at these particular Eldar. I think he might do that regardless because they found out.
All right, so you're fleeing. So even if you don't rescue Isha, even if she is dead and you're fleeing, this still happens, or this doesn't happen.
Either way, because they discovered Nurgle's secret.
Okay.
And this is something Tzeentch would definitely want to know. Because I feel like this might be the darkest secret in like 40K is that they're dead.
Okay. Well, how do you deal with what happens to the Eldari after this is discovered? And I'm assuming that the rescue team gets away. They get into the webway. They are able to spread this information. Who learns of it, and then what happens?
Do they tell people? That's the big thing. I think Yvrain doesn't tell anybody. I think Yvrain just lets it go. Just goes, we can't tell the Eldar. We need them to still have hope.
Well, anybody who's helped them up to this point, the Harlequins are going to want to know what the fuck happened, right? When they get back in the webway, they'll be like, so where's Isha? There's going to be a lot of questions here.
They might have to say the mission failed. They'll get them next time. That's a good one. That was good. That was smooth.
Okay.
But that's what I really think it should happen. It's kind of like how I would want the Emperor to come back to life. If he comes back to life, I want him to be a rotting monster. I want him to be the most horrific god ever. And I want his servants to fear him. I want the custodians to actually show fear. Like, I love the idea that...
And they shall know fear.
Yeah, I want the horror aspect of 40K brought back. And it would be a depressing setting. It would be very depressing if she was just, dead. That would suck.
Yeah, but I mean, taking Nurgle's place is also
a dark twist.
Right, but that's Galadriel, right? Instead of a dark god, you'd have a queen. As beautiful and terrible as the dawn.
Ooh. I like what Rush is saying.
Mortarion betrays Nurgle, asks the Emperor for help out of spite. Nurgle kills Mortarion, but is distracted, allowing each to escape and making Mortarion's death worth it. That was my position, was that it was going to be Mortarion and Layman Russ, and Mortarion would sacrifice himself to allow this to happen. That's interesting. I think I have a slightly more hopeful view of it than you do, but I think,
grimdark.
yeah, I mean, it's a grimdark setting. It makes perfect sense that this would be. I feel like you're kind of taking away the victory at all is the problem. Whereas I think 40K is built more on Pyrrhic victories than it is on null events. You know.
We need a loss, and Eldar are perfect for that because they're always losing.
Do we though? Do we actually have to have a loss?
I think so, but I'm also like I love the dark twist. I think the dark twist is always the best.
Well, I think there's a reason why this scenario has fascinated the 40K community for decades. It touches on every theme that the setting holds dear: the cost of hope in a hopeless universe, the tragic irony of survival through captivity, the question of whether the grimdark status quo can ever truly change. A free Isha is, in some sense, the scenario that asks, what if the 40K universe actually dared to get better? Or
Yeah,
dared to want to get better? I don't know. I feel like there's been a lot of plot threads that have been dangling for a very long time. Isha's captivity is one of those really long standing dangling plot threads. And I feel like it will be addressed someday. Maybe after I'm dead, maybe after you're dead, Alexis. I don't know. But I
well,
feel
I
like
certainly hope so.
on a long enough timeline, I think Games Workshop will address this issue and come around to it and say, okay, here's a big story that involves the Aeldari and the Rhododendra and the return of Isha and Iniad and Slanesh and all that shit, right?
Yeah,
Now, whether that's an end times, mashup of different events so they can close out a chapter and start a new chapter, who knows? But
it's gonna be dark either way.
it would be a fascinating event to see like how the ripple effects of this would spread out across the galaxy. I love the idea of this being the catalyst that brings the Exodites fully into the setting
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
warpath. I also love the idea of it possibly offering a path to the Death Guard, and maybe maybe your Bay Nathaniel Garrow will be a part of that somehow.
I mean, I like that Nathaniel Garrow's gone. His death was perfect.
Right, but maybe his example is held up as like it becomes a watchword. Like if you whisper Garrow to another Death Guard, they know that you're one of the few and the brave who wants to be free of Nurgle and join Isha.
You know what? In Mortarian's final moment, I want it to be Nathaniel Garrow that's offering his hand to him.
Ooh, nice. That's poetic shit right there. I like that a lot.
That's real good, isn't it?
Ricky Chapman says they find a wooden cocoon prison. They start to open it only for a furry clawed hand to rip out and a very angry werewolf Russ to burst free. Werewolf Russ. Yeah. I'd like to see Russ come back. I'd like to see Mortarion get something really cool. Rush says 5-head theory, Garrow is the Lady of the Lake. I'd like to see something happen that would be interesting and cool for Mortarion and the Death Guard. I feel like they've been very static for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a Bright Hope universe. It can still be grimdark. There can still be deep consequences of Pyrrhic victories, and we're just barely holding off that clock from striking midnight, which is what 40K is. But at the heart, in my heart of hearts, I do have my favorites. I love Stories of Redemption. I love the heroic, freeing the damsel from the castle. I mean, this is literally that is literally legend right there. And Layman Russ is a super legendary guy who could absolutely do that. So could the Eldar and the Phoenix Lords. I've been an Eldar fan since 3rd edition. I first started playing 40K. Eldari were my first army. So I've been deep in the Eldari pantheon and their lore and their story. I'd love to see something happen for them. So yeah, I'm biased. It's fair to say. Just like Alexis has a Slanesh tattoo. I don't have a tattoo of the Eldari, but they're part of me.
What? Next, you're going to say I have a bias.
I mean, I think we both have our biases. What are your final thoughts on Isha and like what if Isha returned?
So, on one hand, Isha returns means dinosaur Eldar. Awesome. 10
Fuck
out
yeah.
of 10 idea.
Fuck yeah.
100%. Really want that. On the other hand, dead Isha. Really grim dark. Like, really, really dark, twisted story that would be ultimately one of the coolest stories in Warhammer 40k. If written well.
If written well. That's a caveat that applies to everything we talk about here.
Yes. Like, we would need to get one of the best writers on it. Who would you want on it? Like, telling this story. Who do you think would do it?
Okay. I'm gonna say Robert Rath.
That's a good one. That is definitely a good one. My immediate thought wants to be Gav Thorpe because he wrote the Eldar books, but not something like this. I don't think it could be ADB.
It could.
It
No reason why not.
could. It definitely could. Kofu, you farted on me, you jerk.
Rush nominates me to do it. I can write it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Graham McNeil could do it.
Graham McNeil would be a good choice.
Yeah,
Guy
I think
Haley.
that's my choice.
Guy
Or
Haley.
Guy Haley. Yeah, those two. Put those two on it. Give us both endings in the same book. Actually, they really could. That would be a great twist. Is that when the Eldari and everybody goes there, they're dead. And it turns out Isha has already escaped like thousands of years ago and has just been chilling with the Exodites.
Now that would feel like a major waste of the. It's one of those movies where the best thing that happens is nobody does anything at all. Which is unfortunately, this is actually true for the first Indiana Jones movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. If Indy never got involved, it would still end up exactly the same way. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you made some interesting points, and this what if has wandered over some really interesting territory. We've talked about the Eldari, obviously at length. We've talked about the Imperium. We've talked about the Exodites returning. There would be factions that don't care so much. The Mechanicus probably wouldn't care. The
Votan wouldn't. Actually, the Votan would care a little bit.
Maybe.
Because
Tau probably wouldn't care.
Yeah, the Tau wouldn't give a shit. The Tyranids don't care about anything. Right? Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think we got someone nominating Vera. Vera would be good too. Yeah, she could probably write it.
Vera's a good writer.
So, Andy could write it, frankly. We have a lot of people on this channel who could write really well. So, there you go.
Not me. I'm taking months to write fucking.
But you're doing it. Lore. You're doing it, and you're doing it well. I've read your writing.
Look, it's like slamming my head against the wall continuously and trying to get the atoms to split apart so I could phase my head through. That's my writing style.
Rush asks, what if they could learn to heal from bone singers? Who's they? Tau? Votan?
Tau learning to... Well, the Eldar and the Tau don't really get along.
They don't. They don't interact very much. Let's put it that way.
No,
and that may be
petulant childs.
Well, that may be on purpose because I remember I was told many years ago. This would have been back in 2011. I was told that one of the original plans was that the Eldari had uplifted the Tau as a buffer against the Tyranids. Just like hang out here on the Eastern Fringe and fight them. We don't have to deal with them.
I think that story was dropped because the Silent King now fights the Tyranids.
Yeah, I think they definitely. I don't think that is true any longer. But that there maybe have been a reason why the lore has avoided having Eldari and Tau interact for a long time, and maybe that is part of it. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mortarion and Isha wedding win.
I think the coolest thing out of this whole thing was the idea that that Mortarion smashes the lantern and lights himself ablaze, and becomes the actual angel he's always wanted to be.
That could be pretty rad. That could be pretty rad. And
Like,
I like I said, I like that idea because it offers a transmutation and it offers a uh, a
a
great
satisfying ending to
yes.
Mortarion.
It
That's
offers a lot of
still dark.
satisfaction. Yes. And it would also echo onwards with the Death Guard in a way that I think would be really interesting to read about. So, yeah. Ice Mates, Ross saying 2011 was a long time ago. God, I feel old. Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Ricardo says the lantern is just a pistol. Well, it's a pistol, but it's named. It's symbolic.
Yeah, it's also a pistol, and pistols in 40K can be shot and blown up.
It's a symbol though, because he named it the lantern for reasons, and the Mortarion has always wanted to be the guy that lights the way. So
Yeah.
that's where we're going with that. It's obviously not a physical lantern releasing physical fire. In this what if scenario, it is his pistol overloading and then erupting with flame that is actually the flame of the Emperor. So
Yeah. And it being named by the Emperor actually feeds right into that.
yeah.
Like, he's always had the Emperor's gift by his side, so he never needed the shield or the sword of the Emperor. He's always had it.
Hollow Lantern. Hey, great name. I liked this. Wish I could stay, but got to go. I'll leave a like and have a good day. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
In fact, if you have enjoyed this deep dive into the grim darkness of the far future, we would really appreciate it if everyone could leave a like and a subscribe to help the algorithm spread our heresy to even more minds on the internet. We are grateful for anyone who does so.
Yeah. All right. So I think we pretty much wrapped up everything that we possibly could. So do we want to call it here?
We can certainly call here. We got just a few more minutes. I was going to say, remind everybody that we also have a poll up for the Saturday show. And the possibilities for the Saturday show are, let me just bring that up really quick. I believe we are talking about, yes. So the options are St. Celestine, the Officio Assassinorum, or the Eye of Terror for Saturday. Currently,
Oh
the
my
Eye
God.
of Terror is winning.
Please let it be Celestine.
So
I want to talk about my girl so badly.
Alexis is rallying. She's rallying the lore seekers. Go vote for Celestine so we can talk about St. Celestine. Rush says, love the Saturday painting segments. They are keeping me honest about my painting. Yes, we also will occasionally look at your miniatures that you've painted on our Saturday show. So if you have any you'd like to show off, Alexis, how do they do this to show off their miniatures?
Okay, so you go to the Discord, right? And then you click the 40K, and then you go down and you click the 40K painting. And if you want your stuff shown, you just post it normally, and you post about it like, hey, this is my totally cool, awesome conversion, or this is a beginner paint job, or this is my amazing looking miniature that'll blow Ross's pants off. If you don't want your miniatures shown, just say, hey, don't react to this on stream, and we will just skip right by that.
Yeah. But we're happy to look at your miniature painting and offer our ideas or advice or reactions. If you just want to see people react to your cool painting, we're happy to do that.
Yeah.
So, we're happy to talk about all kinds of lore on the Lorebeards channel. So until next time, remember,
in the grim darkness of the far future,
there is only lore. We appreciate you guys. Have a great day.
All right, take care. Okay, love you guys. Bye.